Happy Monday. Dean here. Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical, 5 o'clock on the East Coast, taking y'all straight up the lock. 2+ hours nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation. It starts now. You get Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, as well as SquirrelPatrol later on in the show, talking about around 6:15, 6:20 when it comes to crunch time. Chief meteorologist Kevin Roth will be on top of the weather. If anything out there is lurking, looks pretty good. Last I checked, I will double check, but I believe we have nothing but yellow, green. Yeah, all right. Atlanta is yellow, green currently. We got Chop. We have Keith. Chop, welcome to the show. How's things in your world? You have a thought? I assume you have a thought, Chop, on James Harden, how he feels about Tomori, your Houston Rockets. I assume formerly the Houston Rockets. Obviously, there's some ties there. I'm curious if you have a take.
I'm glad somebody finally spoke up about that fraud, Daryl Morey.
Oh wow!
So I'm happy for James for speaking his mind. He ran the Rockets into the ground. I mean, just anybody can be a GM, Dean, if your whole thing is, let me just trade all the assets humanly possible. It's just to keep on bringing in veterans and seeing if anything sticks. I mean, come on, man. Give away the few. So I'm just glad James finally spoke up, and yeah, I'm good. I'm here for it, man. I'm here for it. I hope they fire Daryl Morey into the sun here pretty soon, Dean.
What's the resolution? Because Harden doesn't seem like they really can trade him, or it's not the options aren't spectacular.
I've seen James Harden not be motivated and want to be traded. You don't want that on your team or in your locker room, so they're going to have to trade him, Dean. Like, they're going to have to figure something out. I don't know what to tell him, or else he's going to have to do the Ben Simmons thing where he takes his mental days off and he's done, because he man, break out the fat suit. We know what's about to happen, Dean.
No, is that true? Like, is that what was going on there? I know that people make those allegations, that famous picture, and it's not the most flattering shot. Do we think that was legit, like a nutty professor thing going on? Like, is that what was happening?
I can speak from experience with James Harden when he wanted out of Houston. Yes, that was a real thing, Dean. There was no effort on the court or off the court to stay in shape. Yeah, it's a real thing, man.
No, I'm saying, was he wearing a fat suit during warm-ups? Is what I'm asking.
I just said he doesn't make any effort off the court to stay in shape. He'll absolutely gain weight. He's got the frame to just like sit down and eat a bunch of Reese's Pieces Buttercups and go ham. Dean, yeah, it's gonna be.
How would you privy to his favorite snacks?
Dean, you know what, Dean? Look at this. Can the camera get up on this?
Is that a Kit Kat, I believe?
It's a special kit. It's a special edition, limited edition, Dean.
Okay.
It's churro flavor. I don't know if you can see churro.
Have you tried it yet?
I can try it on air if you want me to.
Try it on air, yeah. I want a real reaction.
I definitely had to, I'm trying to lay off the candy and stuff these days, but I saw this on the TV and I made a comment to my wife. Of course, she knows me too well, so she picked it up for me. All right, let me give it a shot, Dean.
Wait, hold on, Keith. Do we think he's going to like it? What would you buy a churro?
Now, mind you, I am a big Kit Kat fan. I love little.
You're a big Kit Kat guy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know his stance on churros though, so this is a challenge one.
Love churros also. That's what made it so interesting.
Yeah, this is going to be a slam
anytime
dunk.
I go to Costco, I got to get the churro.
Churro and hot dog for like $3. You're sucking it. You can just bite in.
It's like a wine tasting, Dean. You don't just gobble it down.
Are you gonna spit it out?
This is the content people came for. This is it right here.
Can you tell it's August? They came Slate.
So the Kit Kat can never go wrong. Kit Kats are delicious. This is not as good as an original. This needs more churro flavor. I can barely taste the churro in it. With that being said, I would eat a dozen of these if I had them, but it's not quite up to what I thought it would be.
You ever go to a Japan Chop? I know Japan is notorious for having, amongst many things, but they're known for having a bunch of exotic flavors of Kit Kats. Don't ask me why I know that. Are you aware of this being a thing? Yeah, they get very creative with their Kit Kat flavor. It's
put that on my list of bucket list to do one day. Go to China.
Yeah. There you go. You want a vacation together, Chop? Let's do it.
No.
Me and you.
No.
All right. Fair enough. Keith, in Arizona, I feel like Arizona is like churro territory, is it not? I feel like churros are big in Arizona. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I don't know exactly like that there are vendors selling them on the street everywhere and everything, but yeah, it's a popular food item for sure.
There you go. How's Monday treating you, by the way? Anything of note, Keith? Anything on your mind? Anything you want to get off your chest? Do you have any? I don't any sort of like what did I see the other day? Funyuns flavored Lays. You wear the Funyuns? You wear the Lays?
That sounds disgusting.
Funyuns like the chalk for like if you happen to like hang out with Cheech and Chong, that kind of thing, right? I suppose that's like kind of what they go to. But yeah, you're not a Funyun guy? I guess not.
No, not particularly.
All right, fair enough.
I feel left. I should have brought snacks though. I didn't realize this was going to be a segment here.
Tony in chat's talking about the flaming hot Funyuns. Flaming hot's getting out of control. Everything is flaming hot these days. But go ahead, Keith.
I'm on the opposite end of that. I love flaming hot. Flaming hot Cheetos are up there among the best.
I have a sensitive. I'm heat sensitive, so I can't. I'm out. Anything heat, I'm out. So deal breaker for me. But I'm just picky. That's on me. But I know people love it. Anything else of note? Anything we should talk about here, Keith, on a Monday afternoon before we dive in? It's an 8-gamer. Plenty of time until we yield to crunch time, an hour plus. Yeah. What's going on? What's up in your world?
Pretty
Bears?
standard Monday.
You want to get excited about the Bears? Your Bears.
I mean, how could you not be after 2 passes and 2 touchdowns, right? Both over 50 yards. It was a pretty good start for an offense that I think people should be pretty excited about. We'll see if Fields can throw it down the field a little bit. We know he can run. They've added some weapons. I think it's time to get excited about the Bears.
His ADOT was like, or was it, how many yards did he have? Like 5
yards
or something like that? Was it negative?
I'm pretty sure it was negative, yep.
Yeah, but scoreboard, that's all that matters. Casey in chat said just had a Costco hot dog today for lunch. Yeah, I remember one of the big things about Costco, they lose money on that hot dog. Apparently, allegedly, the owner said many years ago, like, we're never going to raise the price. It's always going to be, I think, $1.50. It's still $1.50, I assume. They didn't go back on that, to my knowledge. Yeah. Anybody know what Costco prices for hot dogs?
Still cheap, Dean. Still cheap.
Chop, I don't go inside Costco. I just hang outside. Just hang outside.
Yeah, you wouldn't know the prices of any of that stuff, Dean. Although you would be familiar with the Polish sausage.
Chop, here's a good question for you, by the way, before we dive in. And actually, it's a callback to a previous show because we were talking about, maybe this was pre-show, we're having a conversation about Houston rappers. Mr. Donk wants to know your favorite all-time Houston rapper. And then somebody said, I think, don't you have connections in some degree to Paul Wall? Is that not a thing?
That's what I said in chat. I responded. It's got to be Paul Wall, and just for good measure, I throw in DJ Screw because those two are intertwined. R.I.P. DJ Screw, but those two intertwined. So definitely Paul Wall with a little dash of DJ Screw in there. Good stuff, Dean.
And Keith, feel free to give your favorite Houston rapper as well. I don't want to leave you out.
I don't think I could name one.
Oh, come on. You've heard that the anthem, Who is Mike Jones?
Oh, well, yeah.
Mike Jones,
yeah.
That's Houston.
It's in the name.
Catch Me Riding Dirty, Chamillionaire. That's a Houston rapper. Houston is Travis Scott, obviously, big time. There's a lot of big Houston. Houston's a hotbed for music and food, Dean. People wouldn't know that, but Houston's big time food and big time music.
We got to get your power rankings. Your top 10 like Houston rappers or something like that.
How could I forget? How could I forget the Ghetto Boys? Jimmy James reminds me back in UGK down there in Baytown. Oh yeah, that's great music, man. Dean, my God.
We got to get those power rankings. You got to drop them for us one of these days in the Discord channel. Join the Discord, by the way, RotoGrinders.com/Discord. There is the live stream chat channel. There's the MLB channel. Our Discord channels, almost all of them these days now are free in that you don't need a premium membership. Just a regular RG membership. You can hang out and we're talking baseball throughout the day. People are tilting the games as well. If you want to tilt your face off and your guy hits the ball to the warning track when your pitcher gives up homers, there's people that are some people might on the other side of it. But yeah, it's fun to have the conversation and bounce back and forth. Jump in there and hang out in the Discord channel these days. All right. Pretty straightforward slate, Keith, right? We have a couple good starting pitchers, 2 clear and obvious offenses. Arizona in cores against one of the worst pitchers in baseball, flexing. We don't have a lineup just yet, right? I don't believe it with Arizona lineup unless I missed it. Maybe it just came out. No, I don't see it just yet. But Yeah, Arizona's going to be super popular. The Braves, a little bit of a different iteration. Albies got dinged last night, as well as Murphy. I think possible concussion, or I just read about it. I didn't see it. He's not catching either. So Nicky Lopez, who I think kind of broke the slate the other day, which is hilarious. He had a homer off of, I think, a shortstop or something. Like, he's got no power. He's batting ninth. Michael Harris, my guy Michael Harris, is batting second tonight. Get excited, but everybody else is probably going to be excited too. You got Max Scherzer, some other good pitchers. We have Miles Mikolas chalk, which I think is the worst chalk on the planet. I'm curious to get your take on that. But yeah, give me your screenshot as far as tonight's 8-gamer.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think it's very clear on the offensive side. Arizona is the top team. I thought we were going to get Atlanta pretty low owned, but because of the lineup changes, I actually think this makes them more popular. They're just easier to fit in, where before they were super expensive. And obviously Olsen and Acuna are still really expensive. Riley's up there, but now you have some value options. Harris was one of my favorite hitters on the slate when he was going to be hitting ninth, because he was going to be virtually unowned. Now he's going to get some ownership, like you said. So unfortunately, Atlanta looks like they're going to be a little popular. I just agree with the top offenses. You can put the Mets and the Cardinals right there in that conversation as well. So I'm going to be pretty chalky at hitter, and that means I'm going to do some weird things at pitcher. You mentioned the Mikolas stuff. I have not rostered Mikolas all season long, and I don't think I'm breaking that trend today. It's obviously an awesome spot against Oakland. Mikolas should never be chalk in DFS. He's a very low strikeout pitcher. He needs everything to go perfectly to be anywhere near useful for tournaments, in my opinion. I'm going to take some stabs at guys in that range, like Brady Singer. I think Grayson Rodriguez is very interesting for what he's been doing, despite a tough matchup against San Diego. You've got Scherzer and Glasnow at the top, obviously, but I'm not sure that I'm sold on those guys either. Scherzer gets an improved Angels lineup. He has not been the elite strikeout guy that we've been accustomed to, down to like 27.5% strikeouts. And he's all the way up at 11K on DraftKings. A little easier to fit on FanDuel, where the pitching at the top is more tightly bunched. But 11K for Scherzer just feels a little too expensive. Glasnow at 10.8, coming off of skipping a start due to back spasms. I don't feel very comfortable with that either. We have the pitch count projected pretty much normally, but I have some concerns that they should just be extra careful with him. Maybe the back flares up on him. He gets pulled early. I love the spot for Glasnow, but I'm concerned about the injury with the pitch count and things like that. So probably underweight there as well. Darvish and Fried are interesting, but not elite to me. I don't like Darvish's matchup against the Orioles. Fried is just not a huge strikeout pitcher. He's coming back from injury and isn't fully stretched out quite yet either. So I think there's a lot of different ways to go. Logan Gilbert might be my favorite option on the entire slate against Kansas City. Just love that matchup for him today.
Yeah, Gilbert was fabulous last time out. The Rays, like you mentioned, things are kind of falling apart there. McClanahan looks like he's going to be done for the season. So kid gloves for Glasnow, especially if he's dealing with the back. This is a team that essentially is locked into the playoffs. Look at Fangraphs, 95% chance of making the playoffs. So, they certainly don't want to sputter into the playoffs, but they should probably ease their way in and maybe not push their best pitcher, their last guy standing in Glasnow. It's a good point. Chop, your take. And by the way, it's worth noting, we'll talk about stacks later. All three of us, and as well as who was the fourth person, the Luch. We ranked our favorite stacks on this slate. 8 gamers, 16 teams, and we all rank our top 5. And all 4 of us have the same top 4. And then we all kind of, the 5th team is just kind of like we're all our own little individual stand. But I personally picked Seattle. I don't feel great about it, but you got to pick somebody. The Luch picked Pittsburgh. Keith, you took Colorado. I imagine you don't feel great about Colorado. It's hard to, but I understand why you did. And Chop took Pittsburgh, which is, certainly an interesting team. And Carrasco has been kind of terrible this year many times. So it's also condensed when it comes. It's very much condensed when it comes to the hitters. So I love the idea of getting away from Mikolas as well. I believe Chop Mikolas has an easy to hit umpire unless things have changed. I saw that's the way it was earlier today. Doesn't strike out guys as is, and now he's facing an umpire that might not give him the corners necessarily. And he's definitely a guy that can use the corners. Give me your thoughts here, Chop, as far as how we're attacking this slate. What are you doing? You're running out 150. You having a good time? What's the strategy?
Yeah, we're gonna run out 150, Dean. Let's run out 150 on both sites and see how it plays out, Dean. And so, my overview would be, yeah, I think there's a lot of options at pitcher you can go with. I'm not in love with anybody. I'm ranking Glass now number one on my list. I guess I'm not as concerned about the back spasm. I'd be a lot more concerned if he was coming back after skipping a start due to arm soreness or something like that. Back spasms, I think they can live with that. And they kind of need him right now. They kind of need to get going. So I think, as long as he feels comfortable out there, I think they'll let him keep running out there. Right before the back injury, he was running up some really nice innings. So I'm number one on Glass now, but a lot of that is due to the uncertainty after that. Scherzer, y'all mentioned it. Now, we'll get into all of it, but I think there's a lot of pitchers we can go with, and we'll talk about them individually here in a minute. But I can highlight a lot of pitchers on this slate, and the batter. Well, we got Coors Field. For our hitters, we got Coors Field. You always have to consider that. That's takes on a whole different tone to a slate when you have a Coors Field and there is a visiting team coming in facing a gas can. So you have to adjust for that, and we'll see how it plays out. But I think there's plenty for an 8-game slate. Lots of stacking. And the pitchers can go. I think that you can go in either. And I'll also say this. I'll throw this in. When you have a pitcher who's projected to score a pretty decent amount of points, I typically don't completely 86 them out of my pool. I'll start going down and getting rid of guys who I think, man, this guy's gonna he could really get shelled, and I'll get rid of those guys. I might not play, everybody that remains in my pool. But I won't necessarily 86 them. I want to keep that option open as long as they're getting a decent projection. Miles Mikolas, with that ownership, might be one of the first guys I ever eliminate because he's getting the second highest projection on the bat right now. I'll never flat out just get rid of a guy like that out of my player pool. I might not play him, but I won't get rid of him. But this guy, I actually might get rid of because where do you lose it at? He'd have to have, like he said, everything would have to break perfect for this guy to crush you in a GPP, especially at that ownership. And if things don't go perfect for him, this Oakland team has a little bit of pop. So, I'm really on the fence about completely eliminating him, but that's a ridiculous amount of ownership for Mickey.
The little that I've heard, it sounds like all three of us agree we're not going to be playing Mikolas at ownership or maybe even any at all. Are we all outsmarting it? Is everybody's kind of the same approach? That seems to be Keith, that's the book, right? How do you, there's good chalk and there's bad chalk. And it just seems like terrible, terrible chalk. It doesn't mean he can't get it done. Obviously we know why he's chalky. He's cheap and he's facing a bad Oakland team. But is everybody going to have all the MME approach? Is this going to be we got to be under. And then all of a sudden the number's going to be, 12%, 15%, 20% for Mikolas? Or is there enough people that are whatever the projection says they're going to go with? Or is anybody going to go over and say, give me 100% Mikolas? That almost seems like there's no way. I can't imagine you're doing that. It doesn't sound like you're doing that at all or even close. You're probably more likely to zero as well.
Yeah, I'm closer to zero. I understand, and I think that you are right to some extent. Because of his projection, he's obviously going to be popping with ownership numbers as well. But I think a lot of the field is going to feel like they should take an underweight stance, and he ends up coming in at 25%. I definitely think people are willing to roster him because he's really cheap and he has a phenomenal matchup. There's a path to 20 points here. Don't get me wrong. There's probably not a path to 30, though, is kind of my point. I think somebody like Brady Singer could throw up a 30 and you don't need Mikolas at all. But yeah, I feel what you're saying. I think that a lot of people will feel like an underweight stance is the right approach. And he does come in a little bit less than this projected 35%, but people are still willing to roster him. So if I had to put the over under on ownership, it would be high 20s, 28.5%.
I missed your Donk mentioning the Rays bullpen getting overworked. Yeah, they've been working pretty hard of late. On Friday, they had 5 of their relievers out there. Saturday, Armstrong threw 43 pitches, Ramirez, so that their longmen are both basically out for today, it seems like. And then on Sunday, they had 5 guys. So yeah, they've been working pretty hard, the Rays. They did call up, it looks like Jacob Lopez. Looks like a middle reliever that maybe is somebody that they plug in at some point. But I don't know if the thought process is that they need Glasnow to eat some innings, but again, like if they lose tonight, so be it. They're not trying to lose, but they also, I think, are having a big picture, September outlook as opposed to today. By the way, Chop, the question did come up. I know we're talking about pitchers right now, but Michael asked, I was thinking about it too before we, fully go into stacks, but like some days you like to have a certain stack strategy where you're going to have 5 3s or 4 4s. Some days you make it a little bit looser as far as your restrictions when it comes to stacks. What's the policy today? Have you figured it out?
Yeah, I think DraftKings is going to have everything at least 4-man stack, and probably the same thing for Fanduel. I just just looking at the matchups that's out there. We got Coors Field. St. Louis, I think, is in a good spot. We'll talk about these later on, but there's just a lot of good offenses tonight in good spots with marginal pitching, and there's only 16 teams playing, but there's enough offense for me to feel like I need to have stacks tonight.
Yeah, but Keith, you mentioned the Scherzer seemed a little bit too expensive on FanDuel. I made a couple shell lineups over there, both with Scherzer, and I agree he's probably a little bit too expensive, but like you kind of ran it down. It's like, well, like what do we actually feel good about? You got to roster somebody, and the other part of it is you really don't want to miss at pitcher on FanDuel when you only run out one pitcher. It's hard to compete when your one guy just goes out there and craps the bed, right? I had some Corbin Burns lineups the other day. It's like, oh man, my hitters did great, and Burns just didn't quite get there. Those things just happen. So, like, what is the approach, right? Got to show Fan a little bit of love as well. We'll talk DK also, but it's a little bit of an overspend, but I still got most of the stuff I wanted offensively. I can't believe that Michaelis is currently the highest projected pitcher over there, and it's not even like this discount's not even enough for me. 8K as opposed to like 10.5, and on DK, sure, it's an SP2 at 7K. I can see the argument much more than on FanDuel. Again, can he get there? Sure. Needs those BABIP gods on his side. Not going to strike a lot of people out. And also he's got an umpire that's not necessarily working for him either. But yeah, if not Scherzer, who do you feel good about? You mentioned Grayson Rodriguez. I like him probably more so on DK, but I'm fine with him on FanDuel. You mentioned Singer as well, and probably another guy looks better, more likely on DK than on FanDuel. But yeah, just kind of run down your favorite FanDuel pitcher first before we kind of touch on DK.
Yeah, so Max would be my favorite FanDuel pitcher. The pricing is more tightly bunched. You don't get as big of a discount to Gilbert. You don't get as big of a discount to Brady Singer. Glasnow is right there in that same price range. Fried is really overpriced for not having his full leash. And I mentioned not liking the matchup for Darvish. So it is Scherzer for me in that top range. Glasnow is fine if you feel better about the back spasms than I do. I think it's a phenomenal spot. Like I said it on DraftKings. I think it's a phenomenal spot for him. I'm just concerned that we can't get up to 95, 98 pitches in this one. Grayson Rodriguez is the guy I would take shots on as far as a cheap guy goes. His average velocity on his fastball has been way up since his return. He's over 98 miles an hour. He was down around 96.5 when he came up earlier in the season. This is an elite pitching prospect who got beat around his first chance at the big leagues. And I think he's lost a little bit of that prospect shine because of that. He's been an entirely different pitcher since he's come back. San Diego's a tough spot for him. But I believe in the talent, and I just feel like I would rather lose with Rodriguez than just try to, I feel like Michaelis is just the key to a min cash. I don't see any way to get to the top of a tournament with Michaelis. So I'm just not going to play him, and I'll take shots on more upside with guys like Grayson Rodriguez. Saw him mention of Merrill Kelly in the chat too. I don't think that's absolutely crazy on this slate. Kelly's an above average pitcher, and this Colorado offense is no good at all. It's probably the worst in baseball at this point.
Yeah, they're certainly a disaster out there. What is the ownership on Kelly? It's actually 20%, which is pretty surprising. Is that, would you expect it? Is that about right for you there, Keith, as far as Kelly? 20% on DK, 19%, I guess I rounded up.
It feels a little heavy. I could see it coming in 15-ish%. I think he will get some ownership. I mean, it's no surprise how bad this Colorado offense is. So I could see him picking up a little bit of ownership, which is not ideal. I would be much more willing to take a bigger stand on him if he was much lower owned, like Singer, I think we could see some of that shift to Singer. Honestly, he's projected at like 8%, and Kelly's up at almost 19%. I could see those two flipping.
I agree. I think that's a good call. Michael is 36% currently on DK. The bat has him even higher as far as ownership projection. Scherzer shop, we have a 35%. Glasnow at 25. Darvish at 20. Kelly 19. Gilbert 15 in Kansas City. By the way, pretty good hitting weather in Kansas City for what it's worth. Let me go ahead and pull up Weather Edge when I checked before the show. It wasn't a huge sample, but we're talking about wind blowing out. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and confirm and pull it up. Actually, you know what? I was thinking of St. Louis. St. Louis in a 32-game sample, right center, 11 miles per hour as far as the wind. We've seen a boost in homers at 20%, a boost in runs at 10%. Just 76 degrees, 61 as far as the dew point. KC is cooler than it's been of late. It's actually cooled off down to 72. Not a big sample as far as weather. It's not much pop in there, but feels certainly like better pitching weather than it's been in Kansas City of late. So, yeah, Gilbert at 15%. And then Max Fried, who, if you watch that game, I don't know if Keith, you watch the games. I know you're a big watch the game guy. Did you watch Fried get BABIP'd last time out? You recall like little like dribblers in the infield. It was atrocious.
Yeah, he pitched much better than his results show for that game. It was definitely a BABIP situation.
Yeah, he was cruising, and then a bunch of like wonky singles by the Pirates. And this New York lineup obviously they're not spectacular either. I feel pretty good about Fried. I like him at 14% ownership as well. Chop, you have a big stand when it comes to your pitchers on DK. Anything like any big separators, anybody going way over the field? Again, the most popular guy right now is Michaelis at 36, Max 35, Glasnow 25, Darvish 20, Kelly 19, Gilbert 15, Fried 15.
No big stands. I mean, I like Glasnow. I like Glasnow number one, so he's going to be my most owned pitcher, I believe. But after that, I like everybody we've talked about. Grayson Rodriguez down there in that middle to low territory. I was fully expecting to come on with a Merrill Kelly take about how I liked Kelly tonight, but the ownership is kind of higher than what I thought it would be for a Coors Field pitcher. But looking at him just briefly, Dean, small sample stuff, but like Coors Field hasn't affected him the last couple of outings when he's been actually good. So I don't think it'll necessarily affect him tonight. So Merrill Kelly's fine. Logan Gilbert, good. Yu is okay. But, yeah, I was thinking I know Keith mentioned Seattle earlier. Or was that Dean? Was that Dean with the Seattle stack?
Seattle was my 15. Like, I think we all kind of struggle to rank our 15. I mean, maybe we'll see. Keith had Colorado. And you had Pittsburgh, Chop. Not the most fun teams to throw out there, but yeah, mine was Seattle, and they're pretty good prices on Seattle.
I was kind of thinking here, Brady Singer might be a guy that ends up. I'm far over the field on Brady Singer. I mean, Seattle, man. If you've watched them, especially in that Baltimore series, they couldn't score. That offense can be bad. I think Teoscar is out tonight. Not that that's like a big deal, but it's a heart of the order guy who's not playing. Brady Singer hasn't been terrible. So I think Singer's in the mix for me. And I don't know that we know the role tonight for Sean Manaea, but, man, if you just wanted to get freaky with it, man. And I know, Dean, you're shaking your head, but, I mean, like, you could really load up. Imagine those power bats you could get in your lineup, man, with the little Sean Manaea, Grayson Rodriguez tandem.
So you're hoping for what, 4 innings out of Manaea? Is that like the best case scenario? He comes in the second inning.
Yeah, with this role, when they've let him go like 4 innings, he can still get up to 17 to 20 DK points. That might be enough tonight. Because I'm here to tell you that I don't like Scherzer. That like I'll end up taking him because we've only got so many options. But I think there's a path where Scherzer is just not particularly great tonight, and that's big money. And who are the other guy like? Glasnow, I told you I've liked, but Mikolas, my goodness, I can do without him. Darvish is a little bit long in the tooth. We don't know what's going to happen there. And Max Fried, we've talked. I like Max Fried, but there are times when he's not a DFS-friendly pitcher. He's more real-life friendly. So there's not as much opportunity cost with a Sean Manaea roster spot tonight.
Well, he could play 0. He could not pitch. Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah, 150 lineups, GPPs, you're taking a chance, but usually they let you know, unless it's the Red Sox and Nick Pivetta, they kind of let you know that this guy will play some innings tonight, and so you can kind of have a good idea, or this guy won't pitch at all.
I think that's
he's
a really
not 4K,
important.
He's 5'6". But go ahead.
Yeah, I think he would absolutely be in play if we knew he was going to pitch. But I think that's the biggest thing. There just hasn't been anything out there confirming. Just digging into San Francisco bullpen usage, all of their long relievers are rested as well, which is why I have. I'm very cautious on this. Tristan Beck is rested. Jake Junis is rested as well. So Beck and Minaya both pitched in the same game in their last outing. If we see something like that, maybe we don't quite get the 4 innings from him. And there's just a chance that it's Beck and not Minaya at all. So there's not really any concrete information out there on Minaya. I like the idea. I'm generally okay trying to find an edge that way, but it's a little bit shaky of a situation. It reminds me a lot of the Boston situation that Chop touched on.
Yeah, I'm not getting the Minaya. You're probably running 20 lineups tonight, Keith. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. I don't think I'm getting there, and that's just because I want to be well overweight on Grayson Rodriguez and Brady Singer. I don't even mind a stab or two at JP Sears and Merrill Kelly. So like I'm fading most of the high owned pitching, and I'm just taking shots in this mid range, hoping to find the guy that beats Michaelis, and then I have a huge edge on the field.
Well, you mentioned that Seattle lineup, Chop. No Teoscar. It's a weird. Kyle Rowley batting second. It's J-Rod, Suarez, Raleigh, Canzone is their cleanup hitter tonight. Then Ty France, then Marlowe, and Ford, and Moore, and Rojas. That is a terrible lineup for Seattle. They're without J.P. Crawford as well. There's no Crawford. There's no Teoscar. Oh, there's no A.B. Hitting. Although he's batting second. Okay, but still, it's not the best iteration of Seattle. So
Singer's gonna be popular.
Yeah, he's gonna jump up. He's gonna jump up to like
people love their expensive pitchers. Yeah, Seattle probably had to do a little something. They're just haven't looked particularly good on offense here these last couple of days. Maybe they're just trying to change things up. Dean, also before we go any further, I forgot to mention. I want to give a big congratulations to Kirk Dees and his New England Patriots for signing Ezekiel Elliott today. That's a game changer right there, brother.
The best ball bros are freaking out about Stevenson. I hope to drop Stevenson a little bit. I've been drafting him, and you don't want my best ball takes, I'm sure, but I don't think it's going to be a big hit on him at all. He's just going to probably take from the second guy. But yeah, I don't know what's the plan there for New England. Like I don't get that, but good for Zeke, I guess. But yeah, I think I saw Bobby Gomes tweet out he wasn't terribly excited about it. He's another New England guy, but yeah, what's the plan there, Keith? Like why? It's
just insurance. Like I don't think they're getting anything out of their other two backs. Kevin Harris just doesn't look like he has any burst at all. Yeah, and Strong is the other guy, and he's looked a little better, but still just inexperience. We know Belichick and how he deals with fumbling issues and things like that. I think it's more about just having a veteran presence there. I don't think it cuts into Stevenson's role at all. So I kind of agree with your take there. If Stevenson starts dropping down draft boards, I would jump on that for sure.
Yeah, that's
what Zeke doesn't have anything left. I'm pretty confident in that.
No, I don't think so either. He might get, like you said, the occasional series or something like that, but he's not going to be featured. And you're not going to have 100% snaps for Stevenson, but I think he's still going to be on the field like 75% of the time, which is pretty good when you shop around and compare these days as far as running back. But great question in chat. It's tricky. I'm Chop's probably going to take on it. He's our resident food expert today, at least a Kit Kat expert. Can you power rank these deluxe nuts, Chop? Pistachios, cashews, and macadamia.
Those three. I mean, cashews clear number one. I'm going pistachios 2, and macadamias a distant third.
Distant, interesting. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I just when they sell you the mixed nuts and they advertise like no other product does this where they tell you that there's not a lot in there. Like everybody else says, we have a whole bunch of stuff in there, and they give you the regular nuts. It's just they just know it's trash. They know you don't want the regular nuts. You're just fishing around there. I don't know. You got to get the deluxe nuts, Chop. You know what I mean? This is if you're feeling like splurging. Do you even eat the regular ones? Or maybe I'm just I'm spoiled when it comes to the nuts, I suppose. But the regular nuts are nonsense. We don't want that. That's like what they put in packaging.
Yeah.
Anybody taking this, or you guys?
You're fine. Dean, go runner. You're the nut expert, brother. I'm gonna let you handle this one.
Yeah, speaking of that, hit the like button. You'll get Dean's Dongs later on in the show as well. You get Chop's. No Triple G for Chop because you need TJ to make an appearance. TJ, so no Green Goblin. Is that how that works?
It has
we will
nothing
get
to
the
do with
knockers,
TJ. Nothing
The
to do
Triple
with
G
TJ.
does. The
Oh,
Triple G
no.
does, right? Right,
No,
Chopper?
all about Spider-Man. Nothing to do
Oh,
with
Spider-Man.
well, but they're one of the. Well, I mean, Keith,
Dean, I do
we're
want to.
sitting down, Keith.
I do want to give a quite the teaser here, Dean. I want to tease it a little bit. This is a special Choppers Knockers today. Believe me, special, very special.
Why would it be special? Why more special
Well,
today?
that's the teaser, Dean. You got to tune in to find out later on. You got to stick around.
Oh man!
In fact, I'm thinking about. I might not even release them unless we get like 200 likes or something, man.
Okay. Do you have any guaranteed homers if you get like 1,000 likes today? I know sometimes you like to unleash those.
I wasn't prepared. I can do some research. If we get up to 1,700 likes, I'll knock that out for you guys.
And maybe we'll get some of Keith Eister's big fleisters. Maybe we can get some out of him. I don't know if we have an official graphic on that. So I don't know if Steve ever put the time into it, but yeah. Well, Keith never really endorsed the fleisters. To be fair,
I haven't heard anything. Nonsense. I haven't heard anything better. So it's the leader in the clubhouse.
Somebody was saying, by the way, I think it was Eric was mentioning. Apparently, it's a friends and family game for Schmidt. This is a tough game to have your family in the crowd. But, Schmidt, hometown game, facing the Braves. I guess it's his first time ever. 50 friends and family at the game. Well, imagine that. Imagine having 50 friends and family. What a humble brag that is there for Schmidt. They're all showing up to watch him get his face punched in by Acuna and Harris. We're not rostering. I don't think we are. We're not rostering Clark Schmidt, right? I don't think so, Keith. Just cross him off the list. And
no thanks. Cross him off the list.
Hopefully he gets a hug or two from the friends and family, and it's not too bad for him. But, he could survive it as well. But there you go. We got to mention the old friends and family game. Anything else of note as far as pitchers that I think we should kind of point out? Flexen is a no. We mentioned Grayson. Grayson Rodriguez is I think it's a really interesting tournament play. Like you talked about that as well. Keith, it sounds like you're over the field on Grayson, and the number is actually pretty low. And the Padres have been, they've been on Kirkwood's gutless rankings all season long. I think they're top 5 as far as gutless teams infighting as well in San Diego. We're looking at 10% ownership on Grayson Rodriguez at 6.4%. And like you said, Keith, when this guy officially establishes himself, he's going to be a 9-10K pitcher at some point, consistently. Obviously he's not a complete project, but the talent is there. I'm trying to see if there's anything else we can focus on. Anybody else in the chats have any thoughts when it comes to pitchers? By all means, we're happy to answer those, but I'm just catching up. Chop, what else do we say here as far as pitchers? Anything else we need to focus on? Anything else we need to share with the people as far as pitchers? I feel like we didn't spend enough time with Max Fried.
We talked about him. I like Max Fried. Just, I've said it. He's more of a better real life pitcher than a great DFS pitcher. But with that being said, he can still get it done. He's got I think he has a solid matchup tonight. And also, you have to realize that he had his injury, so he had a big break. He came back fresh, had a great outing his first time back. You said it, he ran into a little bit of unluckiness the last time, but all the things you look for in the health of a pitcher were there as far as velocity and all those sorts of things. So I think he's in a great spot here tonight to do something. I don't think the one guy I think could break it is Glasnow, can break the slate. Other than that, I don't think there's a huge opportunity cost that pitcher. I said it earlier. So yeah, I'll take some shots at Max Fried. I kind of like it.
Keith, you got any takes today from a betting perspective as far as scores and odds stuff, as far as prize picks, maybe like K's over under? And I know sometimes you're writing stuff up over there at Scores and Odds. I have not had a chance to check. Did you write anything up? Any takes? Are any of the lines still not stale? Have they gone stale on us and they're no longer interesting?
I did not look at K props today. I had to write the Top Stacks article, so I was consumed with that. I did not even take a look at K props today.
Let's see. Max 7.5 is our over under. Glasnow 7.5. Juice on the under. Carol 6.5. Merrill Kelly 6.5.
You don't see a 6.5 in Coors Field very often.
You don't. You are getting juice on the under. So it's over under 6.5 plus 108 on the over, minus 130 on the under. Gilbert 5.5. Yes, Chop.
I'd also throw in, I was thinking about this earlier, and I just looked at the Yankees lineup. Like, Max Fried has stifled right-handed pitching this year. I mean, right-handed hitting. Like, he's kind of a reverse split. You know, he's been injured this year, so some of it's a little small samplage. But they're throwing out there their first 8 hitters are right-handed. I think that helps Max Fried out.
All right. Yeah, I think Fried. I'm happy to go back to him. It's a little bit. I wish it was a little bit cheaper. I'm happy to go to Gilbert. Happy to go to Scherzer. I don't really have a clear-cut separator, but it sounds like collectively one of our big stands is just going to be under the field on Michaelis, and that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to do my best to get away from him. Are we attacking him? Are we doubling down on it? We'll talk stacks in a second. I'm just curious, Keith. Amongst your 20 lineups, do you have an Oakland stack, maybe an Oakland mini or two?
I have a ton of Oakland minis. I don't think they have quite enough upside to go the full stack, so they won't be in any of my 5-mans. But I love like 3 of the lefties or something like that there. Yep.
Yeah. Marie's back to leading off with the speed. Brown's got some power. He's pretty cheap. You got yourself a cheap catcher as well. You saw Geloff. He's a righty, but he broke the slate the other day. I didn't play over the weekend, but I think he was like super, super chalky, and he broke the slate. So I probably would not have got there. So I might have saved myself some American dollars on that one. Okay. Somebody just tuned in right now. They want to know. They want the summary, Chop. Give us a summary as far as pitchers before we move on and talk about some stacks and whatever else is on chat's mind.
My summary of pitchers, Glasnow is my clear-cut number 1. Mikolas is a pretty clear underweight or fade for me, and I think the rest of it to me is just throw some stuff against the wall tonight and hope it sticks, because there's a lot of really solid, good arms in all the price ranges, cheap and expensive.
Yeah, I probably misspoke on Fried, but yeah, Fried 9.4K is a pretty good price. I thought he was 10K and above for some reason.
He's priced up on FanDuel a little bit too much. He's in the same category as Scherzer and Glasnow, like $100 difference. That's
what happened. And that's what I was thinking about. Yeah, 9.4 on DK is pretty positive. I'm not really afraid of that Yankee lineup so much. Keith, same deal. Give us a summary when it comes to pitchers, and also give me the player you're going to be over, like most over the field, the player you're going to be most under the field as far as pitchers.
Okay. Yeah, top 2, I think they're both fine. I have concerns on both. I'll probably end up slightly under the field on Scherzer and Glasnow. I'll be overweight on Gilbert and Fried, probably about even on Darvish. I'm not crazy about his matchup. It's a complete fade on Miles Mikolas for me. I just don't see the upside there. I understand the matchup is great. I just don't think that he's going to beat me in a tournament. So I'm going to take shots on all kinds of cheap guys. Brady Singer being my favorite. I think he gets a little bit more popular than he's projected right now that Seattle lineup has come out. So I'm going to up I had about 3x the field, 30%. I might up that even more now, just because I'm concerned that he's going to catch some steam here late with that Mariners own lineup that came out. Grayson Rodriguez is my other massive overweight stance, about 3x the field on him as well. Just believe in the talent, an elite prospect who struggled his first time around, but has been much better since returning. And then I'm doing some weird things like taking shots at Merrill Kelly and maybe even a JP Sears or two.
You're taking some shots at Merrill Kelly. Jose wants to know, this is for cash though. Need one of these pitchers, Merrill Kelly or Gilbert, for cash? Like, come on, you got to play Gilbert in cash, right, Keith? Like, if that's we're talking about Kelly versus Gilbert, and if salary's not a big deal, it's definitely Gilbert, right? Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely Gilbert. He's got one of the best matchups on the board. KC has been one of the worst offenses in baseball. They strike out plenty. Great spot for Gilbert.
Yeah, Derek's talking about Scherzer's historic scuffles versus lefty power bats. Makes for an interesting conversation with Ohtani. There's a couple other lefties. The Moose, I assume, cracked that lineup too. But yeah, it's not overall. It's not a lineup I'm necessarily afraid of. I saw somebody in chat saying they're waiting for this elite Angels lineup to show up. Look, I've done enough victory lapping on the Angels call. I'm just going to let that go. But by the way, Mike Trout's his timetable has just been forwarded. There's a chance we don't see him again the rest of the season. And why would you? If we'll see. Who knows? But their chances of making the playoffs have certainly dwindled. Yeah, Trout, his timetable is not looking good. A bad report came out of Mike Trout, basically. Daily Fantasy Sports, we care about today and today only. Of course, Trout's not playing, but maybe he's not playing for a while going forward. All right. Hey, fire off your questions in chat. Yeah, we're happy to answer those, as many as possible till we yield to crunch time. But give us the details. Let us know. Is it for cash? Is it for tournaments? You playing on Fanduel? You're playing on Draftkings? Is it a single entry contest? You're playing a 3-entry max? You're playing the the lotto with like 20,000 entries? That kind of stuff does help. Also, hit that like button. That helps us too. Hit that like button, and you get some of Chop's knockers. You get dongs as well. We'll give some homer calls. And again, if we get to 1,700 likes, Chop will give you that guaranteed homer as well. Going to talk stacks in just a second. Do want to mention, though, NFL right around the corner. It's here. We're more than ready. Our team of experts and our suite of tools. Let RotoGrinders handle the legwork so you can work less, win more this NFL season, get access to everything we have to offer at a special discount available only to those without an RG subscription. If you just want football a la carte, if you don't want the premium with everything else included, you can get football NFL, the full season subscription, $50 off for a limited time price of $375. Again, there's other ways of getting this, but if you want just the NFL and the NFL only, there you go. $375, $50 off, limited time offer. Have at it. 23 days, about 24 days until the NFL season kicks off, give or take. This is the time when we get excited. The time when I get excited. I'm more prepared than ever, man, because we've been chatting about it on Sirius. I'm a best ball bro now. I haven't said it publicly. I don't tweet about it, Chop. So I don't know if that means I'm officially, if I win, do I have to show proof that I tweeted the team out 7 months ago? How does that work, Chop? Does the site go back and retroactively look? Because I'm told you're supposed to tweet out every team you build. Is that not true, or am I going to be okay?
I think you'll be all right, Dean.
All right.
You'll be all right, man.
That was comforting. Thank you. All right, Keith, let's talk about our stacks. We mentioned it before. The stacks are pretty, before the cards get turned over, pre-flop and all that, they're pretty obvious, right? Arizona's number one in Coors Field against Chris Flexen. Kind of somewhat surprisingly. It's really, actually, they're tied. Okay, so we have a 2A and 2B officially tied, St. Louis and Arizona. The Mets are 4. The gutless Mets are 4. They're facing Priester, the rookie, who's just been underwhelming so far. And then we have Pittsburgh, Colorado, and Seattle all getting a little bit of love. Keith, these are your picks, right? You have Arizona, Atlanta, St. Louis, the Mets. You threw in the Rockies as well. Yeah, it's kind of straightforward. And I guess it sounds like one approach you have, you tell me, is just getting a little bit different at pitcher and getting away from Michaelis and playing guys like Rodriguez. And that's one way to be different as far as your stacks, as far as your approach when building lineups tonight. But you feel pretty good about these top 4 at least?
Yeah, I feel really good about the top 4. And probably I think St. Louis is like Arizona, Atlanta in a top tier, and then St. Louis and Mets maybe with a slight gap down. Atlanta is just so much easier to fit now with the lineup that they rolled out. And I mean, Albie's not being in there is a big deal, obviously. But Harris getting the bump up to the 2-hole, this is just a great spot for him now. Darno's in there instead of Murphy. So it's just an easier to fit stack now. So very clearly the top 2, Arizona, and then Arizona is obvious. Just it's Coors Field, it's Chris Flexen. You can't ask for a better spot. St. Louis, JP Sayers is a decent pitcher, but St. Louis lines up so well against lefties. They've been much better against lefties than righties this season. Goldschmidt has oddly struggled against lefties for whatever reason, but don't expect that to continue. He's been awesome against lefties throughout his career. Gorman has figured out how to hit lefties. He's been really good lefty. And then the Mets get, why am I blanking on Quinn Priester, who is a rookie that came up for the Pirates, who has not been able to get anybody out. His walk rate is way too high. His strikeout rate is way down around 15%. So the Mets lineup falls off very quickly, but I absolutely love the studs in the Mets lineup. It's the ballpark that docks them a little bit. The only reason they're not in the top tier. And then just the lineup falling off really quickly. But Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, 2 of my absolute favorite hitters on the slate. Colorado is just a Coors Field thing. Not a good offense. Merrill Kelly is a good pitcher, but it's an offense in Coors Field, and they're really cheap. I particularly like the lefties for Colorado, Ryan McMahon and Nolan Jones. After that, the other way I'm getting different outside of pitching is doubling down. Like you said, I'm playing plenty of Oakland mini stacks against Miles Michaelis. He's been really lucky with home runs this season. His home run to fly ball rate is way below his career rate. He's only given up like 0.8 home runs per 9. For his career, he's more like a 1.2 home runs per 9 guy. Oakland has some power in this lineup. I think Chop mentioned that already. I really like some of these lefties for Oakland. JJ Bleday, Seth Brown. And then I like Brent Rooker is fine, and Zach Geloff are fine as well. Soderstrom is a big power prospect as well. Hasn't gone well for him. I don't think there's enough juice in the lineup for a full stack of them, but I love the Oakland mini as well.
Chop, your thoughts as far as stacks?
Yeah, I haven't wavered since I ranked them earlier. Arizona #1, it's the Coors Field effect. What you want to do with the ownership is up to you, but in a vacuum, they've got a great chance to be the highest scoring team on the slate. St. Louis, for all the reasons Keith mentioned. Sears has been okay, but not great. Gives up home runs, and sneaky enough. Those two lefties in the St. Louis lineup might be the lower owned guy. Nobody wants to go lefty on lefty. I don't mind those left-handers for St. Louis. Like in a perfect world, they might not get but 1 or 2 at-bats against Sears anyway. Hopefully, if our stack pays off, and then they're out of there. But then Atlanta. They only come in third for me because I figured their ownership would be a little bit heavier than the rest of than some of the other teams. So I dropped them down to third. Like, they are the most powerful offense in baseball, and they've got a decent matchup here tonight. So they're on there. I like Pittsburgh against Cookie. Cookie kind of, he was okay that last outing. He kind of suppressed the stacks. I think it was the Cubs his last outing. I was like all over the Cubs. He held them down. He held them in check. Those stacks didn't pay off, but generally speaking, he's got a 6.53 expected ERA this year. He's not been very good, giving up home runs and everything. So, in Pittsburgh, while they were a really poor offense for a long stretch there with some injuries, pulling up their lineup, I don't think it's that bad these days. Connor Joe's okay. Brian Reynolds, Brian Hayes is hot. I don't know if you believe in hot streaks, but he's hot. Sawinski's not bad, and Henry Davis isn't bad. These guys are just young and they're pretty good. So I don't mind that stack. And then I got the Mets at 5 against Priester, who's been god awful since he came up in his 5 starts. So I'm right there. And that's kind of where I draw the line. Yes, Texas is next. Texas is fine. Colorado's fine. These other teams are okay in that next tier. But those 5, I really draw the line. I think those 5 are in a category all to themselves. And Arizona, obviously, with the Coors Field bump, is way in a league of their own.
Keith, you mentioned Bleday. For some reason, he's not in the lineup for Oakland today. It seems like a good spot for him. But Oakland doesn't care about winning anyway. But yeah, no Bleday. Cross them off the list. Somebody in chat's asking about Carrasco. Alan's asking, how is Carrasco against righties? He's been reverse blitzy this year. What's interesting, because Connor Joe and Sawinski, Joe's been better against lefties. Sawinski has been mashing righties. Love him as kind of a cheap. There's no McCutchen here, but there's a lot of cheapness here in this Pittsburgh lineup. And you're talking about, Keith, the cheap parts on Oakland. Pittsburgh's pretty cheap too. You get a cheap catcher on Rodriguez, another prospect that's supposed to be legit. Davis, another prospect. He hasn't quite chilled it just yet, but theoretically it's there. Did you mention Pittsburgh? Are they kind of on the fringe, like your 6th or 7th, maybe the pivot away? You're talking about Oakland is mini stacks. Do you have any Pittsburgh mini stacks as well?
Yeah, I do have some Pittsburgh mini stacks. They're right there in that mix, 6, 7, 8. Carrasco doesn't strike anybody out. That's one of Pittsburgh's biggest issue. Love Sawinski, a guy who struck out a ton this year, but Carrasco can't strike anybody out. So great spot for these Pittsburgh guys. Love the pricing. The one thing that puts them lower is the ballpark is the only thing. Sorry, Chop.
No sweats, man. Dean,
what's
I
up?
I just want to point out that the San Diego lineup dropped, and while the first number 1 through 6 is kind of what we expected, I think Grayson Rodriguez does get a slight bit of a bump here with no G-Man Choi and no Gary Sanchez.
That's Garrett Cooper. That's who it is. I forgot he was on the Padres. He was traded there. Yeah, it's Kim, Tatis, Soto, Machado, Bogarts, Cronenworth, Campusano. So yeah, no Sanchez. it's a push-pull with no Sanchez because he'll strike out, but also the power is legit. But then Cooper and Grisham ends that San Diego lineup. We also got a Baltimore, Rushman, Henderson, Santander, O'Hearn, Mountcastle, Mullins, who had a spectacular finish to the game yesterday. Got a walk-off catch, if that's such a thing. He had a homer in the top of the inning as well, I believe, in the 10th. Spectacular game for him. Urias,
Well, how
Hicks,
can he have a walk-off
Westbrook.
catch and then turn around and get another at-bat? If it was
Well,
a
he banged
walk-off,
out a homer. I told the story in reverse, but he banged out a homer in the top of the inning. In the bottom of the inning, he stole a homer away from somebody. I think it was on Tampa, I want to say. I can't recall who they were playing, but it was pretty spectacular. Is a walk-off catch a thing? I'm making it a thing.
No, it was not a walk-off catch, Dean. You need to get your stuff straight here before
He literally
he
caught the ball,
on national.
Field, he went straight to the locker room, showered up.
No. He took away a home run, which was great. The next guy actually hit a home run, which sent it to the 10th inning. Then he hit a top of the 10th inning home run, which pushed it to the bottom of the 10th, and it secured the victory for him. He didn't walk off, and then they walk off the field and win the game. Come on, Dean.
Did I tell the game?
First of all, I don't even think you can be they were the visiting team anyway. It certainly wasn't a walk-off homer. It wasn't a walk-off catch, Dean. Come on,
I didn't say walk-off homer. I said walk-off catch.
Yeah, that was in the 9th inning though. The home run, his home run came in the 10th.
I was telling the story Pulp Fiction style. I was giving the details. You got to put the pieces together. But all those things did happen, and you got to figure out the appropriate order for it, I suppose.
If there's a such thing as a walk-off catch, isn't there a walk-off catch in every game?
Damn,
there is, but some catches are more spectacular than others.
Fair enough.
Wait a second. Charlie Blackmon is back today? Is that for real? Is he playing baseball still? According to somebody in chat, at least he is. Yeah, he's leading off. All
Pump
right.
up those Rockies.
Is he like 2K? He's so bad
no
now,
idea.
right? Blackmon, Tovar, McMahon, Diaz, Rogers, Jones, Taglia, Montero, and Doyle. How much is Charlie Blackmon? Not that we're playing. I don't think we are. Is he? He's 3.5. Okay. But he's been like horrendous for a couple of years now, right? I feel like he has.
He had some moments earlier this year.
What's his nickname? It's something to do with his beard, right? What's his nickname?
Chuck Nasty.
I know. There it is. I couldn't think of it. Yeah. All right. Is he still Chuck Nasty? I guess, sure. Why not? I suppose he is. But good for him for going out there and still playing baseball, I suppose. Load up those questions in chat, 15 minutes-ish, even more probably, until we get to crunch time. So whatever's on your mind, by all means, fire it off. If you're thinking about, you're debating between several different players, we're here to help. We're here to answer your questions, general strategy questions. If you have more Kit Kat related questions for Chop. Chop, what's your favorite exotic Kit Kat? Like there's the standard, of course. I know they have like a mint. What's the you tried earlier in the show? The people want to miss out. You don't want to answer this?
No mint. I definitely don't want a mint Kit Kat.
You're out on the mint?
Yeah, I don't want the mint. Ice cream is okay. After that, I don't need no mint in my chocolates, except for the little mint at Olive Garden. The minty chocolate at Olive Gardens are good. But that's about it. Dean,
you're a big Olive Garden guy?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Go throw down some Olive Garden. They got the endless salad. I love their salad. I do like their salad. But I think, Dean, I think we were just talking about Colorado. I need to give my BVP suggestion of the day because it's going to be in Coors Field. No, but you're close. We're close in the order. I'm going Ryan. Okay. Ryan McMahon was the one name that the algorithm spit out that was not terrible. It was borderline, but there wasn't much else. So I'm going Ryan McMahon, BVP, Dean. And you let me know when you're ready to see some knockers.
Hold on a second, Chop. Not to question your algorithm and your proprietary algorithm. You will never share with me. I've slid into DMs. I've asked for it, and you keep shutting me away. But, I don't want to actually you and your BVP, but McMahon is 6 for 27 in his lifetime against Merrill Kelly. So he's got 6 hits, 3 singles, a double, and 2 homers. We're excited. This is the best we can do.
I think, the algorithm does what it does, and the algorithm, I think, really favors the walk to strikeout ratio here. More walks and strikeouts against this particular pitcher. He has as many home runs as he does strikeouts against this particular pitcher. In 27 at-bats, only 2 strikeouts. Yeah, the algorithm likes that kind of thing. Dean, I don't know what world you're living in, what Stone Age you're living in, but the batting average is not really a thing these days.
I'm just saying that you're gonna have outliers that are better than that. I'm looking at it right now. I'm trying to find something better, and you're right. The options aren't great. CJ Cron 4 for 14 against Scherzer, no homers, just all singles. Man, there's really nothing. BBP truthers are just they got nothing today. Is Jake Lamb facing Scherzer today? Is he playing baseball? Jake Lamb? I don't think so. He might be. He's 6 for 11 versus Scherzer with 3 homers. Is Jake Lamb a thing? Does he still play baseball? No, like rarely, right? Okay, yeah. I guess he's still on the roster. Maybe he's hurt. But the algorithm could have just spit out nothing and say we got nothing today, or if you feel obligated.
It does that sometimes. I don't know if you've been on a show with me before, Dean, but that has happened before. Yes,
I think it should have done that today. I don't like this.
Listen, I would never force anything. And this is a name that spit out. Like these are real numbers right here. These are numbers that could get you there tonight, but
unspectacular numbers. They are real numbers. They're not spectacular.
Not everything is spectacular, Dean. Some things you
just got to right?
grind away.
You have your own algorithm?
I do not have a BVP algorithm. I just rely on Tap.
Kyle Lewis is playing baseball today for Arizona. He's DHing, and he's really, really cheap. The Arizona lineup just dropped. Corbin Carroll, probably one of the most popular hitters on the slate, leading off in cores. He's fabulous. He's got wheels. He's got power. He's got the best spot of getting 5 ABs. So he's going to be really, really popular. If you're playing cash games, it's the first person. You're one big spend. If you have one big spend, theoretically, you want it to be Carroll. Carroll, Marte, Gurriel, Walker, and then Lewis. Lewis is DHing. I wonder what his pinch hit chance is. I want to dig into that as well, because I don't think we were not anticipating this, right, Keith, as far as Lewis coming back tonight? I don't think
definitely not. No.
Jace Peterson, Alec Thomas, Moreno, who's really, really cheap on DK. He's 2-4 in Fanduel. You don't need a catcher necessarily. And then Perdomo. Your thoughts here, first look when it comes to Arizona, Keith, and what are we doing with Lewis? Is he first base only? What is Lewis? What position is he?
He's an outfielder, right?
Is he outfield?
Yeah.
Outfield. Okay. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, I mean, no Jake McCarthy. I think that's the biggest thing that jumps out, and then just more value for Kyle Lewis. Alec Thomas jumps in there, who is very similar to Jake McCarthy. I don't think we're losing a ton here. They've gotten even cheaper. So, yeah, still easily the top stack on the board.
Oh, so the other one that's not playing is the guy they got from the Mets, right?
Yeah, Tommy Pham.
That's the one. Okay, yeah, I was trying to think there's somebody else that was supposed to be in the lineup. Okay. I mean, off the top of your head, Lewis, pinch hit risk, is that a concern?
Maybe he turns into Jake McCarthy. Yeah. Is he DHing or is he actually playing the outfield? I know he DH for him a bunch early in the year.
That's a good question.
He's DH.
Yeah.
You can't pinch hit for him, Dean.
You can pinch up the DH.
I think you lose the DH if you pinch hit for the DH, don't you?
Only if he goes to the field, I think. So if the DH goes to the outfield or something like that, then you do lose the DH. But I think if it's just a hitter pinch hitting for the DH, that you still get to keep it.
Okay, fair enough.
Derek wants you to rank Lewis, Peterson, and Thomas. Can you rank those 3? I know you weren't prepared for this here, Keith, but I think we're expecting Jace Peterson, who's not great. But yeah, Peterson, Lewis, and Thomas amongst the cheapies. Who's your favorite? Yeah,
I'd go Thomas first there, then Lewis, then Peterson.
Lewis was like a really big power prospect, right?
Yeah, with Seattle. Strikes out a ton.
Yeah.
But yeah, he came over from Seattle.
He's a failed prospect, 28 years old. He's no longer in the prospect status. Fangraphs did have him at a 70 power grade. So, yeah, tons of power. He
had a really nasty injury. I think it was a knee towards ACL. I think
that's
something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking, well, are you thinking of Royce Lewis? Or is that Minnesota as well?
Him too. Well,
different Lewis.
Yeah, no, him too. I think Kyle had one as well. Yep.
Okay. All right. So sure. He's certainly interesting. And I wonder how we're going to be changing ownership stuff around. Chop, you have a take as far as this lineup for Arizona? Obviously, it's one of the more important lineups on the slate.
I think it's pretty solid. I wasn't expecting to see Kyle Lewis in there, and I'm surprised and happy with that surprise because I thought Kyle Lewis, I always thought he had DFS potential in Seattle, and so I'm intrigued by him tonight in a pretty good spot in the batting order with obviously a really good surroundings tonight in Coors Field. So I like this. And then the bottom of this order, don't know how much love it's going to get, but it deserves maybe some piece of your stacks or mini stacks or whatever. Perdomo's solid. Moreno, lock up a catcher spot with a cheap guy who's actually pretty darn good. Wasn't it Moreno for Varsho or something in the offseason? Moreno might be the best player in that deal. So
Varsho stinks this year. Good outfielder, but
I like the bottom of this order specifically. I like this, man. I like what they did tonight. This is good stuff.
By producer Steve saying he had a key lime pie Kit Kat, and it was a lot better than I expected. There you go. Pick one of these two. Izzy's this is Steelers asking in chat. Steelers asking about, I presume, his Pirates. Pirates or Cards? What do you have, Keith? Who's your preference, Cardinals or Pirates tonight?
As a full stack, it's definitely Cardinals, but I do have more exposure to the Pirates as a mini stack.
Chopper C4 Cammy is asking about the Seattle hitters like to get 2 hits in a game. Who is going to get 2 hits for Seattle? Is that what the question is? I'm just look.
I think 2 hits total. 2 hits total, I think, is what he's saying.
Wait. Oh, is like maybe is he responding to somebody else who's saying they like Seattle? I'm not really sure, but I got the over on 2 hits for what it's worth. The bold proclamation, hot take. I know some people like Singer a little bit. That said, a lineup it's rough. It's a rough lineup for sure. It looks especially bad. This keeps getting worse and worse. Canzone batting cleanup is a good tell. I like Suarez. He's really, really cheap and batting the 2-hole. Might get himself an extra AB. J-Rod's always interesting. Decent shot of 5 ABs if they can turn this lineup over, but I'm not sure if it can because of how rough it is in the back end. Cards, your favorites 2 or 3 Mariners tonight would be who? Is it just like the obvious ones? Did I say Cards? I meant to say Chop.
I'm not going to answer that question now, brother.
Well, dude, the Cards were in the question, and then I worked with Cards over the weekend on Sirius. You look just, you all look alike.
You're skating a tight line right now, brother.
Keith, do you want to answer your favorite 2 or 3 favorite Mariners tonight? You're more so on Singer, it sounds like.
Yeah, I'm very much more on Singer than I am on this Mariners team. I mean, it's going to be obvious. I think it's the top 3. It's Julio, Suarez, and Raleigh are my 3 favorites if I had to pick them, but definitely more on the Singer side of it.
All right. Aaron wants to know, can Arizona do it tonight? I mean, they could score 7 runs and be worthless, right? Because say they hit no homers and they're just kind of worthless. It sounds like, are you going to be generally over, Chop, when it comes to Arizona stacks tonight? Just you're leaning in on this?
Yes. Stacks, sure. Yeah. I'm going to be having plenty of Arizona stacks. I don't mind it. It's a little bit chalky, but I like with the bottom of that order, it doesn't have to be like, you can get away from some of the chalk, I think, in that stack with the bottom of that order. If you're willing to play it, I'm cool with that. And tonight, I don't think it matters, Dean, because I don't see a pitchers where, especially if we're dropping Mikolas out of our player pool, which is going to bump out, make us different than 30% of the field right off the bat. You can just get a lot different at pitcher too. So absolutely going to be overweight on the Diamondback stacks.
Do hit the like button, by the way. We still have to get Chopper's knockers in before we yield to crunch time. Crunch time coming on 5, 6, 7 minutes, give or take. You got Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood. You have SquirrelPatrol as well as Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. Got to get those knockers out for the people. I'll throw some dongs as well into the conversation. We'll see if Keith is feeling giving as well. Keith, Richie Smalls wants to know, you're running on a 5-man stack. Do you prefer the Yankees or the Mets? Pick one of those teams from New York from a 5-man stack perspective.
Definitely the Mets for me.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about the BABIP situation last time out for Fried, and that's how you're going to get him. He doesn't give up many homers, doesn't get many fly balls just as is. Walking can happen, but 0.5 homers per 9 in the season. 23% fly balls. It's really hard to see him giving up 2 or 3 homers. So it could happen, but he's got to get BABIP. Yeah, give me the Mets against Priester, who's been shellacked this season. An ERA almost at 9, the Sierra at 5.5. Homer on the fly ball, a little bit unlucky, but he has a positive ballpark to keep homers in a ballpark, but that has not been the case. Let's see, more questions. Shop Paul wants to know: grilled chicken, baked chicken, or deep fried chicken? More power ranking.
Say grilled, baked, or deep fried?
Baked's got to be last, right? I think we can agree on that. Baked's last.
I would say, all things considered, Dean. Not just
Arteries.
the taste, the way the meal makes you feel afterwards. I'm going to say grilled number 1. I'll say fried 2, and baked 3rd. But the fried is up there because of the taste. But I'll tell you what, it's tough these days to eat some fried chicken, Dean. Eating too much fried stuff, it's tough, man.
Not like when you were 20 years old, right, Chop? It's changed, that you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know if you remember this, Dean, but about 2.5 years ago, I had my that little surgery, man, where they take out the bile thing. I forget what the name.
I didn't
Check
know
can
about
help me
this.
out. Check can help me out, but so now it has a much tougher time digesting that kind of stuff. But yeah, so fried kind of gets bumped down a little bit. But what was it, Chad? Come on, Chad, help me out, man. What are they?
You don't know what was taken out of your body?
I'm forgetting, man. I'm drawing a blank. Not the appendix. The appendix is down there.
That's what I would have guessed.
No, not the spleen. The spleen is like gallbladder. That's it. It's a routine surgery. It's a gallbladder, but yeah, it helps you with your digestion and the bile and storage and all that. But without it, it's rough go with some of the fried stuff these days. So I got to bump the fried chicken down, but grilled is good. Dean, honestly, I eat a lot more chicken than I do actual meat these days. I don't know, red meat. I like the chicken. I don't mind the chicken.
Yeah, can't go wrong with grilled chicken. Let's get those knockers out. Where are we at as far as likes? So we had an egregious number. I've not checked in. I assume it's not completely insulting. We're 125 likes. That seems fair enough, right, Chop? We can give the people some knockers.
Yeah, I mean, I put in the work today. I might as well give the people the knockers. I mean, geez, what am I going to do? Hoard them to myself?
You got a knockers algorithm as well? Is it you saying you put the work?
No. This is work. This is manual labor right here. I don't let the algorithm handle the knockers. I like to be hands-on with the knockers. So
fair enough.
Yeah. All right. So Dean, this is a special knockers right here because first off, it's always good when you get a really solid knocker from the left side and the right side. I got a lefty bat, a righty bat. I like them on both sides. And Dean, this is historically, these combined knockers today are the fattest knockers we've ever had.
Oh, it's Vogelbach.
It's Vogelbach and Alvarez back-to-back in the order. 5, 6 in the order. We got some girth in those knockers today, brother. You're going to have some fun with those. So Vogelbach, Francisco Alvarez, both guys north of 250. 5'8".
I don't think
5'8".
250, is he?
5'8", north of 250. He's probably about 230, but it makes it better for the show, Dean, when I say north of 250. Come on, Dean, get with the program, brother.
I'll throw out the dongs as well. I got to take Michael Harris. Like, of course, I love Michael Harris jumping up to the 2 spot. That's kind of somewhat obvious. I'm not going to go to Coors. I'll get you one more in a second. Let's see, Keith, you got any big fleisters for the people? You have any homer predictions?
I was gonna go Pete Alonso since Chop already went to Mets. I'll pivot, but Pete Alonso is one of my favorite plays on the slate. He's like the same price as Christian Walker, who's going to be massive chalk. So like Alonso's coming in with almost no ownership, and he gets the rookie who everyone's been hitting. Very low strikeout. Love Pete Alonso tonight. I will officially go with Seth Brown to get one off of Miles Michaelis.
That's who I was going to be my second one. I should have threw him out there before you jumped in there, but I will say, give me Brent Rooker. I'll take Brent Rooker against Michaelis. My apologies for my camera. I guess it's getting a little funky, but not really sure why. It
was bad early. It's good now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but again, more questions getting loaded up there in chat. They're talking about they want the triple G, but Chop, again, you only release the triple G when Spidey is lurking. Spidey's not lurking, so that's just not how that goes. For the record, Super Mets fan, producer Steve saying Alvarez somewhere between 220 and 233 chops. You've been well actually by our producer. Let's see.
That's just according to Google.
You don't have a guy, you don't have inside sources that can help you out with that? I'm not in the country, Peter. I don't know why. Yeah, I'm not really sure. My connection should be good to go. I'm not really sure what the issue is. My apologies again. Hopefully, going forward, it will not be an issue. They wanted to know about, Well, I wanted to mention St. Louis. We were talking about St. Louis earlier in the show. St. Louis specifically on FanDuel. You were talking about they're kind of been scuffling a little bit, but Goldie is really, really cheap over there. Arenado is really cheap over there. Edmund leading off. It's really easy to get like a 1 through 4 St. Louis stack. Tyler O'Neill is 2.5 on FanDuel, which is one of your best, cheap punt plays. You want a punt play with some power, some upside. I like Sears a good bit, but 2.5K for O'Neill is a little bit goofy as far as the price. Chop, do we have a reach around play? I know there's no Harris. Harris batting 9th. I guess he give the other end of it, but you're not. Look, if you want to roster yourself some Nicky Lopez, by all means, go for it. Have at it. But that's not in my world. That's not something I'm doing comfortably. Do we have that for the people, or I think we gave enough gimmicks? If you happen to have one,
it's not gimmicks; they're bits. And I prefer to leave the reach arounds to you and Kirky. Y'all are the experts at that, and that's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I'm just thwarted because again, Harris is usually where I go, and he's batting 2nd as opposed to 9th. So I was not anticipating that. We do have the crunch
Jordan
time
Walker
crew.
in the 9-hole for St. Louis is interesting. I'll just throw that out there.
Look at Key giving a good reach around here. I like
He's been so bad. He's been terrible. Oh man, I guess is he still at 21? Right? Obviously, they expected a lot out of him, but he's been a massive disappointment. Somewhere, Derek Hardy. I think he was actually on Twitter taking a victory lap, like, "Oh, look at that! Not every prospect is as good as you want them to be." Jordan Walker stinks. Maybe he'll be good going forward. What's going on there, Dave, with Jordan Walker? Why is he so terrible? I think part of it is like he doesn't hit the ball in the air, which is troublesome. Last I looked, it's like all ground balls. Is that still a thing with him? What's the story with Jordan Walker? Is he going to be okay eventually?
Oh, of course. I mean, yeah, he's a child. The guy's 21 years old and playing Major League Baseball.
Yeah, expectations.
And he's not like he's the worst player in the league. I mean, he's not doing what he did in Double-A. Oh no, like there's nothing wrong with Jordan Walker.
Yeah,
and you could roster a lot worse players than him tonight if you wanted to.
And if you ask me, probably St. Louis probably doesn't have the best development people in baseball to develop guys. So maybe, maybe he would look good in a Houston uniform.
I'm sure he would magically be better in Houston. It's amazing what just a little cheating will do. It will.
Whoa! Whoa!
Boom! You got him. Take that, Chop. Oh, no, Chop, shout out to Houston. We talked about the other day. We wanted John Singleton in the lineup against like the bad righty, and Dusty didn't put him in. But he comes in against a decent lefty. I can't remember who it was, but he double donged versus a lefty, resurrecting his career. Who was that against, Chop? Do you remember? He had a couple homers against the lefty.
that Angels lefty. Who is that? That Angels lefty that's pretty decent.
It was Detmers, wasn't it?
Yes, it was Detmers.
Which is wild because he's a pretty good lefty. That was the one day I think nobody decided to play Singleton, and haha.
You're gonna get some more Singleton, Dean, because Abreu's got the spasms.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Anything else before we step aside and make way for crunch time? You good, Keith? Anything else on your mind you want to fire off for the people? How about yourself, Chop? Or shall we step aside and make way for Roth and the boys?
We
good.
All right, that was Keith. That was Chop. We do appreciate you watching the first portion. Now the FanDuel sponsored crunch time. By the way, check out the FanDuel single entry series. I believe it's the $50 variety. The RotoGrinders sponsor. Check that out on FanDuel today. I'm in there. Come get me. It's Roth. It's Cheese. It's Squirrel. Take it away, Roth.
Let's do it. Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. It is indeed crunch time. It's the show where we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got one, Mr. Dave Potts. Cheese is good. What up, Cheese?
Not too much. We haven't had a lot of like legitimate Coors Field mega chalk this season, really. But we do get some of that tonight. So I don't know if that's good, bad, or otherwise for you, but it is a thing that we have.
Doesn't matter to me, but all right, that's noteworthy. I'm interested, of course, on how you're handling that, how Squirrel's handling that. Squirrel, I feel like you just won another live final ticket like a couple days ago. Am I making that up?
No, actually, I won 2 in the past week. So,
Yeah,
I
of
mean, but
course.
so that's still like, yeah, like you don't have to tell him no. I want you
Yeah.
just say yes, but also.
Yeah.
yeah, I put one of them out on Twitter, like the other I didn't put out.
Yeah.
So you're probably thinking about the one that was like maybe like exactly a week ago, and then there was another one like 2 days later.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Congratulations. So how many tickets do you have between DK and FanDuel for live finals in baseball this season?
So 4 DK and 1 FanDuel.
Okay. And Eric Johnson says, isn't the live final like next week? Do you have one coming up here?
I think it's this week. I think I got to fly out on like Friday
Oh,
morning.
nice. Okay. You know where you're going, or you don't even?
I think San Diego. I think I'm going to see Cheese there. I presume.
It's in San Diego, yeah.
That's right. Okay, lovely stuff. All right. Well, congratulations. Happy to have you on the show here and kind of break down what we got going on. This show, by the way, sponsored by FanDuel. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I should. If you haven't, make sure you sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. If you are in Tennessee, Arizona, Colorado, or Illinois, you can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. If you're in Virginia, VA. I was like, what? If you're in Virginia, West Virginia, Indiana, Iowa, or all other legal sports betting states, you can get a no sweat first bet up to $1K. Terms and conditions do apply. Quick little weather update. There's just like a low chance of a delay in Atlanta. I assume we don't care. Is that Cheese? Do we care?
I mean, that's Max Fried is a viable pitcher in that game, so we don't want a delay.
I don't think it's very likely we get one. And if we do see a delay, I think it's more likely it would just be a late start. Play it in all formats. Just play it. And just
and he's not like the primary go-to cash guy or anything, but he's quite viable.
It's like a 5 to 10% chance of an in-game delay. So I think you just kind of eat that low chance, and it probably works out for you. And that's really it. That's all I've got. So now I'm going to kick back and hand it over to you, Sir Cheese. Sir Cheese.
Sir Cheese, I like that. Okay, so yeah, like I mentioned, on the hitting side, it's all going to be about what you want to do with the old course field. Whereas on the pitching side, it's actually a little more open, I think, on the pitching side than on the hitting side, which is also kind of unusual. Starting on FanDuel, basically, you can spend all the way up to Scherzer or Glasnow. Completely good plays with plenty of upside, but not necessarily like things that I feel like you just have to have at they're like 10-5, 10-7 on FanDuel and up towards 11K on DraftKings. Like Glasnow missed a start with some back issues. Like I'm a little worried that he maybe doesn't have a full leash. Like a non-full leash Glasnow still can get 10 strikeouts in 5 innings. So I'm playing him, but I don't feel like this is the slate you just sacrifice everything to get those two guys. Yeah. I think kind of the big decision point, I think, on both sites is going to be Miles Mikolas. He's super cheap and facing Oakland. It's kind of like every day we seem to get one of these mediocre pitchers in just a great matchup at a low price that makes them kind of chalky despite being not really great DFS pitchers. Mm-hmm. Personally, I strongly prefer Brady Singer over Mikolas. I mean, he's like 1,100 more on FanDuel, which is not irrelevant at all. DK, they're a little closer. I do have Mikolas, and I don't think there's anything wrong with just playing him. And I'm not really that worried about ownership either. Like I do think the pitchers get kind of spread out. But I do think he'll be higher owned than Brady Singer, than Grayson Rodriguez, than JP Sears. And personally, I've got him below all those guys. They're all bunched together really close. But I want Singer, Sears, and even Grayson Rodriguez ahead of Mikolas. That is just going with the assumption that Mikolas will be the most popular of those guys. Right. Like he's the one guy, not like the one guy, one of the only guys who doesn't get any strikeout boost really from facing anyone, much less Oakland. Like he doesn't strike people out. He needs batted ball luck. And Oakland isn't really any better for that than anyone else. So I don't love it. I get it. I'm playing some of him, but I'm not a huge fan. On DK, Logan Gilbert and Max Fried become way more interesting. I mean, they're both quite playable on FanDuel as well. I have some Gilbert in there. But on DK, they're like over $1,000 cheaper than Scherzer and Glasnow. And similarly, upside-ish. And you can throw Darvish in there as well, 8,700 on DK. Like that little trio, I think is too much cheaper than Scherzer and Glasnow on DK, where they're not too much cheaper on FanDuel. So that's a lot of names, and really I have them all at about the same percentage. Like it really is like pitching is what hitting usually is today. Like it's a spread it out slate for me.
So what do you think that the move is? Let's say you're playing cash. Is there a
in
chalk
cash?
pairing or a
I
right
think you're
pairing?
okay to play Michaels. I think it's Scherzer Michaelis in cash on DK. Although honestly, you might get Scherzer Glasnow now because of the Arizona value that popped up. I don't think that's out of the question at all. But realistically, I think Scherzer Michaelis. And then in tournaments, again, I much want to be over on Singer and Grayson Rodriguez and JP Sears ahead of Michaelis.
Okay. Squirrel, I want to kick it over to you here and kind of get your thoughts. Seems like a lot of good options kind of in that mid to upper tier here.
Yeah, it's a really interesting pitching slate. Like almost every guy has like a strong argument for playing him or something like interesting about him. But it all adds up to I'm basically going to be completely spread out at pitcher. Like I think maybe one of the biggest decision points is the Miles Michaelis thing. Like he's the prototypical pitcher people don't like to play in DFS because he just doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. But innings count too, and like wins count and stuff like that. And Oakland has been a terrible offense. So I'm not Xing Michaelis out of my player pool entirely. Like he's point per dollar, probably the best pitcher on the slate. And he's projected for high ownership, but I'd kind of be surprised if he gets that high of ownership because people just don't like to play him because he has a reputation for not being high upside. He's the kind of guy I actually usually like to be overweight on when he's really low owned. And it's just shocking to kind of see him be that high owned chalk on the slate. I think Max Scherzer is probably the best, like highest tier option. Tyler Glasnow is right behind him, and I think I'd maybe want to be over the field on Tyler Glasnow and under the field on Scherzer in tournaments, just because of the ownership, and they both have high upside. Yeah, Logan Gilbert had an incredible start his last game. I think it was probably his best career start. And he's a talented pitcher, so he's not going to see the ownership of any of the other guys. And then Yu Darvish is definitely in the conversation. Keith Eister had a great call on Grayson Rodriguez. Like he's very cheap on DraftKings. I think at only 6,400, high upside. You're going to be low owned. I'm going to be over the field on Grayson Rodriguez, and we think Chaminade is coming in for San Francisco, and he's really cheap on DraftKings. Not really relevant on FanDuel, but at 5,600 on DraftKings, if you're playing 150 lineups, like have some Chaminade. Okay, he may not play though.
Okay, yeah.
I forgot to mention, but I'm glad you brought him up. There's no confirmation of any sort that he's pitching tonight, but like it is kind of his turn to be the bulk reliever, which could be another like 4 good innings, even 5 at a good price. Yeah, if you're doing 150, yeah, like Squirrel said, I think you want a little of him, but just beware, like a 0 and he doesn't show up in the game is a very real possibility there.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay, so basically pick a pitcher, any pitcher. I mean, there's 8 good options. Yeah, okay. Well, let's kick it over to the other side of things and talk about the stacks. Cheese, you mentioned that there is some chalk in Colorado. So, Squirrel, I kind of want to hear what your plan is there.
So it's just a typical Force Field game. There was a little bit of a shakeup that Arizona started some guys, I think Kyle Lewis in particular, that are pretty cheap. And we weren't expecting him to be in the starting lineup. And you've also have Atlanta. Michael Harris, I think, has moved up to the 2 spot, so he's cheaper than he should be. So that's throwing a little wrinkle onto the slate. I'm probably going to end up underweight Arizona. They're just in a great spot that in Coors Field that leads to huge ownership that goes beyond. And they're facing like a mediocre pitcher. It goes beyond their chances of being the highest performing slate. The highest performing team on the slate. I'll probably be slightly underweight. And I am a little bit worried that guys like Kyle Lewis will end up being really highly owned. And then he's just going to get pitch hit for it. So I'm certainly going to be playing some Arizona, and I'm certainly going to be playing some Kyle Lewis, but I'll probably end up under the field, particularly if like Kyle Lewis becomes a massive chalk. Teams that I like pivoting to, St. Louis is probably my favorite. I have them projected just about as well as Arizona. And then lower down, some of the teams that I like to be overweight on, probably the Yankees, Rangers, and Pirates.
Very good. Cheese, what are your thoughts here? And start with Arizona, I guess.
So I'm going to be over the field on Arizona.
Ooh,
The
nice.
way I view these Coors Field things is I don't want to overrate a team because of Coors Field. They still have to do the thing regardless of ballpark. But the thing is, Arizona against Chris Flexen could be in any ballpark in the league, and they would be my number one stack by a lot. So, like, this is not a Coors Field creation. This is a good team against a nonsense pitcher.
The problem being now, because they're in Coors Field, they're going to come in at crazy ownership. So what are you doing?
Right. They're going to be crazy ownership in smaller field stuff. As we always see, like, nothing ever gets as much ownership as you ever think it's going to in large field stuff, because all anyone talks about all day is you can't play them, they're high owned. We're going to have a bunch of guys at 15 to 20% ownership. I don't care.
Especially with pitchers as spread out as they are, I guess.
Yeah. Like, I think we're overrating what ownership means, especially now with the way this lineup is. It's kind of spread out too. I don't care which 4 or 5 bats I have out of these 9. I don't know. Again, like, single entry, high dollar stuff, smaller field, that's where I'm fading Arizona, because they'll be 40, 50% owned in that stuff. But you get into like the squeeze on FanDuel or the relay throw, whatever it's called on DK, nothing is really that chalky, because everybody just doesn't want to play chalk. And like jabronis like me just say all day, oh, you can't play the chalk. And so it's not chalk. So play Arizona. However, in that smaller field stuff where I do think you need to worry about the ownership, the Mets and the Pirates are my next 2 favorites. Always play the Braves and the Rangers, of course. And then a little just kind of random shots at everything else.
Okay. Squirrel, do you have anything you want to add there, kind of with cheese, against cheese? Any thoughts?
Actually, I thought that was some really good insight to, like, maybe tailor your lineup to the contest you're playing. That I agree. Like, in the biggest contest on both sites, you probably don't need to worry that much about ownership on Arizona. But like, maybe even in particular, like higher dollar stuff, I think you'll probably see more Michaelis, stuff like that. Just because people are going to be playing projections more.
Okay, very good. All right, with that, we like to go a little around the horn here and go position by position. So, Cheese, why don't you lead us off with some catcher talk?
So catcher is not particularly good here. I think you would probably just play Wilson Contreras in cash for seemingly like the 5th straight day. I like Mitch Garver as a direct pivot off of him. Certainly Moreno for Arizona is a cheap guy, but like at some point you can't play all the Arizona bats, and he's pretty much at the bottom of the list of who you want there. I would rather play Andy Rodriguez as a one-off, just like kind of a cheap hunting for a homer. That's really it.
Okay. Squirrel, any other names? I think you're muted.
He's talking a lot, though. You just said a lot of words.
He's got a lot to say, though.
It was all genius. There, I just said it all. No, Tyler Soderstrom maybe for Oakland is a super cheap value play. Just to maybe get a leverage on the Miles Mikolas potential chalk. But I think Wilson Contreras and Mitch Garver, two guys I tagged on lineup HQ. They stand out above the other guys. Maybe Cal Riley with Seattle would be my next best option.
Okay, first base.
First base, Matt Olson. I mean, just on an absolute tear. So I think he's the top projected guy, but he's going to be really expensive, difficult to fit in on DraftKings, although a little bit easier now if you're doing an Atlanta stack with Michael Harris being a little bit cheaper. Christian Walker, Paul Goldschmidt, like Arizona and St. Louis, the 2 highest projected stacks. Those are the guys that are going to be the highest projected amongst their hitters, or among the highest projected among their hitters. For value plays, maybe Dan Vogelbach with the Mets, and then Connor Joe leading off for the Pirates.
Excellent. Cheese.
Yeah, this is a glorious place to spend up, as they say, with Olson, Walker, and Goldschmidt. And like on FanDuel, Goldschmidt's only 3-3. You don't even have to spend up. And don't forget Pete Alonso in there either. Make it, 4 great spend ups. You're also, totally allowed to punt. You can do Seth Brown or Connor Joe on DK. They're multi-position eligible. You can play Lukenbacher, Texas, minimum salary against Sears. He's a kid with some power and some pinch hit risk. But I mean, he's minimum salary. I would rather play Vogelbach, I think. But like all these cheap first basemen are pretty good. It's just that it's really hard not to play Walker, Olsen, Goldschmidt, or Alonso.
Have you been to and/or performed at Lukenbach, Texas?
No, I've actually I've been a lot of places in Texas, but not that one. I've missed the old Lukenbacher, Texas.
You're missing out. It's good stuff. Okay, that brings it to second base. Cheese.
So Ketel Marte is kind of the obvious guy with Albies missing the game. It's like he's kind of all alone by himself. By all means, pivot to some Marcus Semien and some Ryan McMahon on FanDuel. You also have Jace Peterson on FanDuel, second base eligible. So the positions are a little deeper on FanDuel. And I think Perdomo's second base eligible too. So you can do all kinds of things. But I think Marte is kind of an important piece of Arizona just because of how much weaker this position is. The cheap stuff is kind of blah, but then if you're not playing Marte or maybe Semien, then it's all kind of blah. Like, the mid-tier stuff like Gleyber Torres and Zach Zakaloff, the Oakland guy with the cool name, they're fine, but a little more expensive than what I want. So as far as DK punts, I'm not really punting on FanDuel below Jace Peterson, or you can throw Tommy Edman at the same price. But on DK, there's merit to just putting like a 2K guy. Like, Kevin, what's the name of the guy who's probably going to play second base for Tampa? I'll spell it for you and you pronounce it for us. The first name is Osleivis, and then the last name is Basabe. What was it again?
I have no idea.
So Basabe.
Good old Basabe.
A little spicy when you eat it too much, but Basabe, 2K, he's actually a decent little prospect. Assuming he's in the lineup, I don't mind punting all the way with him, or like a Dylan Moore or something on DK.
Okay. Squirrel, real quick, I do want to get your thoughts in a second, but also C4 in the chat says, hey, what about at first going Ohtani as a contrarian play? And anytime I see the name Ohtani, I have to bring it up. So where are your thoughts there?
Yeah, so he was one of the guys I wrote up today, which, I mean, I only read up like 3. So, but yeah, Ohtani's really good because he's going to be super low owned. I mean, he's like the best hitter in baseball. He's got 42 home runs, like 17 stolen bases. And he's facing one of the more popular pitchers in Max Scherzer. Nobody wants to play an Angel stack, but yeah, play Ohtani. He's really expensive. It's tough to fit him in, particularly on DraftKings. But I love him.
The only reason I didn't mention him is because I'm going to mention him in the outfield. So yeah, totally with Squirrel there. A great contrarian play.
Okay. Squirrel, let's go to second base. Are you playing this Elvis Wasabi character or are you going elsewhere?
For the most part, going elsewhere. I mean, I have some raised stacks and then I'll have Wasabi, Aslevis. I don't know. Anywho, so yeah, Ketel Marte. I like, Marcus Semien. There's Jace Peterson with Arizona. If you want to pivot off of Marte, although he's also like third base eligible on FanDuel. And then I like playing the Cardinals guys. Like Tommy Edman is second base eligible and leading off for St. Louis. And then he's shortstop eligible on DraftKings.
Okay, very good. Hey, Charles in the chat says, hey, hit the thumbs up and the subscribe for these guys. You really should. We're trying to keep the show free for you. And the more eyeballs we get, the more our sponsor loves it. And hopefully the longer it will stay free. So hit a little thumbs up. It's not for us. It's actually for you. Squirrel, what are your thoughts at third base?
So third base, Nolan Arenado is one of my favorite plays on the slate. Jace Peterson, Arizona hitting down in the 6th spot, but he's pretty cheap. Brian Hayes with Pittsburgh, and then Austin Riley with the Braves.
Easy enough. Cheese, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's similar to the first base in that it's really hard not to spend up because it's great. You got Arenado, Machado, Austin Riley. Ryan McMahon. Very much want to play those guys. Cabrian Hayes is still viable as a salary guy, but he's not quite as cheap anymore. And I'm torn between him and Jace Peterson. As a one-off, I would rather just go up and more include those guys in stacks, but I am still playing Jace Peterson by himself. He doesn't have to be in stacks. And I'm also going to throw some Suarez in the mix there. And I think that's really it.
Okay, very good. Catching up. Okay. Gorman was scratched. I got the words out. There we go. Do we care?
I think so, because I really like St. Louis, but he's not necessarily going to be the highest owned of the St. Louis guys, or wasn't going to be one of the highest owned of the St. Louis guys. But it is
nobody cares, Kevin. Don't
cares.
listen to this guy.
Nobody cares. I thought that guy, he's got some pop, right? He
does. I'm just kidding.
He's got
wasn't he scratched on the last show we all did together? And
I think it was him. Well, and that one ruined my day. Yeah, that's what happened, because he was in all my lineups. I have a weird love affair with JP Sears, so I wasn't playing him much tonight. But in St. Louis stacks, I mean, yeah, you should be aware of that.
Okay, very good. I lost track of where we are, but I think maybe it's Cheese bringing us to shortstop.
That is correct. Not as outlandishly different as the Ohtani thing, but this is going to be one of the lower Bobby Witt ownerships in a long time, because he's facing a good pitcher and he's kind of super high priced and kind of out there on his own. And it's interesting because all of the expensive shortstops are in tough matchups. Seager's facing a decent lefty. Gunnar Henderson's against Darvish. So I think Lindor probably picks up a little more of the high-end ownership. But I don't love the expensive shortstops as much as like the first and third baseman.
Okay.
So that brings me to like.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No. I just randomly cut you off. I don't know why. Continue. I
have nothing to say. So Tommy Edmonds, probably the go-to mid-tier guy, leading off for St. Louis. I like Ezekiel Duran a little bit. If you're not playing, Perdomo, who's one of my favorite in the Arizona stacks. Tovar's fine. We haven't really mentioned Rockies other than McMahon, but they're fine. And kind of like I said at second, I think on DK, you can just throw a complete nonsense nobody and hope to get a point. Really, it's Nicky Lopez because he plays for the Braves. So if you have to play a nonsense hitter, play the one for Atlanta because he'll probably be involved in something.
Gotcha. All right, Squirrel, what are you doing at short?
So I like Tommy Edman. I like all the St. Louis guys. So Tommy Edman, Francisco Lindor, Bobby Witt. I actually do like Corey Seager. I think maybe a little bit more than Cheese was indicating. He's been hitting lefties pretty decently this year, and Pablo Sandoval actually doesn't have that pronounced splits where he's going to be an automatic shutdown guy against lefties. So I think Seager's a sneaky play, but he's also a very, very expensive play. And then Ezekiel Tovar and Ezekiel Duran with Colorado and Texas, respectively.
Kevin, let me jump in and say, as I looked through, I did have one Nolan Gorman lineup, and it sucked anyway. So this is going to be fine.
You're just going to eat the zero? Just, I guess.
It's the same difference, really.
Hey, I just found out Locke is at 7:10, which is just ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. So now we've got 26 minutes until Locke. I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to end up talking about food, almost certainly. I think we're also going to dive into the outfield. Squirrel, what do you got there?
So the top guys, like pretty solid top four, Shohei Ohtani, Corbin Carroll, Ronald Acuna, and Aaron Judge. These are all pretty familiar names. They're all pretty expensive, but anyway, any one of them can break the slate. Going cheaper, Tyler O'Neill, Jack Sawinski, Brian Reynolds, and Michael Harris is moving up to the 2 spots for Atlanta. I think he plays some Ozzie Albies. So that's something to keep an eye on. And then Kyle Lewis is the guy I was mentioning earlier in the show. He's really cheap. He's hitting 5th for Arizona in Coors Field. He's only 2,300 on DraftKings. I believe he's pretty cheap on FanDuel. Well, yeah, 2,500 on FanDuel. But there is maybe a concern of a pinch hit risk. So it'll be interesting to see what his ownership comes in at.
Okay. Cheese, what are you doing in the outfield?
Yeah, it's interesting. It was convenient for me that the Arizona lineup came out like 45 minutes ago, but for ownership of Kyle Lewis and Alec Thomas, I wish they would have waited. because like both those guys were not projected in and would have been super sneaky if they'd waited till about now to do the lineup. As it is, I do think at least Lewis is pretty chalky. I'm not sure that Alec Thomas is. In that game, Carroll's my favorite spend up. We keep talking about these great players that no one's going to play. You ever heard of Aaron Judge?
Yeah,
me too. Like he'll be lower on than Ohtani, I think. And like all these guys are so great. I mean, I don't think anyone's really playing Tatis or Soto either. If your goal is to play amazing superstar baseball players at no ownership, you are going to like today's slate. So I do like spending up and just playing the best players, kind of ignore the matchups and just you go Judge, Ohtani, Tatis and be just wildly different with all three of them.
No.
Like that sounds good, right?
Yeah, I like it. Do we have the money to do that?
Yeah, we do because we can play cheap pitchers. That's the thing about pitcher. You can play whoever you want. You don't have to play the expensive guys.
Yeah.
Mid-tier stuff, the Michael Harris chalk I like, but I don't think you have to play it. I kind of like Nolan Jones in his place. I like Tyler O'Neill. I think O'Neill will be pretty popular on FanDuel at his price. All the Pirates guys are in play. I think that's all the names I need to mention, but yeah, play the good players that no one's playing.
That's a good plan usually. Let's talk about some home run picks. I got Judge. I'm locking in. I like that one. I'm calling Judge. Cheese, you got a couple names for me?
Oh, sure. See who's a little different. Andy Rodriguez is a little different. And how about Ryan O'Hearn being a little different?
Okay. Squirrel, you got a couple names?
Sure. I'll go Wilson Contreras, and then for a little bit more off the board, Jack Zielinski.
Very good. I believe he was one of Stevie's picks today, he was filling in for Beer Maker on the fantasy bar, and Sawinski was one of his picks as well. So you were in good company, sir. But he kept calling him Swazinski. Did you see the video? It made me laugh. He said it like 7 times. He was like, Swazinski. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's not his name. Anyway, Stevie, we love you. Let's take some QQs. I am jumping into the RG Discord. You guys should be hanging out there in the RotoGrinders Discord if you're not already doing so. We take your QQs, and that's what we're going to do right about now. Let me see what we got here. DK Cash question. Cheese, I'm starting with you. Actually, yeah. Let's go to NC Big Hurt to lead it off here. Favorite FanDuel single entry stack and pitcher, Cheese?
It's Arizona and Brady Singer.
Okay, very good. DK Cash question. I'll kick this over to Squirrel. Duran or Perdomo?
I'd probably go Perdomo.
Okay. What else do we got? FanDuel GPP. Squirrel. Any love for Rodriguez at pitcher?
Yeah, no, I think he's a great call. On both, so he's maybe a little bit more appealing on DraftKings, but I think you can play him on either site. Keith Eister brought up a great point on the show right before us that he's had an increase in velocity. Like he's a prospect that has been doing a little bit better, and maybe he's starting to put it together. So yeah, love that call.
Okay, great. J Sam says, hey Kevin, can you ask Cheese, does this Glasnow situation send him the same kind of vibe to the Ohtani situation at pitcher a few weeks ago? Different injuries, but basically saying pitch count concerns that maybe are not fully listed or understood.
Right. That's exactly why Glasnow is not the standout top pitcher and why he's just another guy in the mix that you don't have to have. Like, I don't think it's as bad as the Ohtani thing. I think he's talking about when Ohtani threw 4 innings.
The thumb
I don't expect that to be the thing, but yeah, I mean, he definitely for sure doesn't have a full workload. And that's why he's not a standout for me. Like, he's fine.
Yeah. All right. We'll go to fixed question. DKGPP. Cheese, right back to you. This is a 2v2. You want McMahon Lopez or Vientos and Gunnar with an Arizona stack?
McMahon Lopez.
FanDuel cash question, Squirrel, 3v3 for you. Suarez, Canzone. Is that a dude? Suarez, Canzoni, and Gurriel, or Contreras, Lewis, and Cardi's BFF Arenado?
I do the second one.
Okay.
Like by a mile.
All right, very good. DK single entry, Squirrel. Is Carrasco too cute in DK single entry?
Yeah, I think so. I just like there's not that many pitchers on the slate, and like Carrasco's like way down there on my list.
Okay. Crazy Coop says for the WWE Tag Team Champion duo of Cheesy Squirrel, FanDuel single entry. Single entry small field, larger dollars is leaving some cheddar on the table and going low owned pitchers, but using Arizona stack the way to go on a slate like tonight. Cheese.
It's fun. What I would say about leaving salary on the table, I would have to see your lineup, which because there's a lot of ways to do it. But we just mentioned like 10 absolute superstars at no ownership. So don't leave salary to not play Aaron Judge, for example, or to not play Ohtani. Like if usually you're leaving salary because the expensive guys you're getting to are chalky, but I don't think that's the case tonight.
Okay, great. Alex says, Squirrel, DK single entry. You want Luke and Baker and Ohtani, or Goldie and Jordan Walker? I feel like those are two good options.
Those are two good options. You know what? I'd go with the Ohtani lineup, which is probably going to be against projections, and I do like St. Louis a lot tonight. Like Ohtani's going to see like minuscule ownership.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. DK single entry. Squirrel, back to you here. Kelly or Singer?
I think Merrill Kelly a little bit better, even though he's in course.
Okay. Achilles got a question for you. Cheese, DK, Nolan Jones, or Gurriel, cash and GPP?
Gurriel and Gurriel.
All right. Let's see. FanDuel single entry, Cheese, Singer and Vogelbach, or Michaelis Harris?
I prefer Singer Vogelbach.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, sir. Question for Roth. How's the hitting weather in Atlanta today? I think it was it's hot. It's humid. Winds are blowing across. It's pretty good. It is almost always this time of year in Atlanta, at least pretty good. What would the tag team of Cheesy Squirrel's finishing move be called? We'll have to think on that. The Cheesy Squirrel Nuts? Yeah. Cheesy Squirrel Nuts is probably the answer. The Nut Melt? The Nut Melt is pretty good. All right, let's see what else we got. A few more QQs. DK single entry. Eddie Rosario, Squirrel, this is for you. Eddie Rosario and Judge, or Harris and Stanton?
Go with Eddie Rosario and Judge.
Aside, the Swiss Squirrel Slam. That's too hard to pronounce. Swiss Squirrel Slam. FanDuel cash, Squirrel. McMahon, Tyler O'Neill, or Arenado Contreras?
Arenado Contreras.
Okay. NBA DFS FanDuel cash question for you, Cheese. Peterson and the Polar Bear, Pete, or Lewis and Riley?
I like Peterson Alonso.
Okay. Snowfighter says, hey, Cheese, important question. Grilled chicken, baked chicken, or fried chicken?
I mean, the answer is fried chicken, but I mean, don't eat it every day like I want to. And that, like, you got to pivot to baked chicken sometimes for living reasons.
Right. Fried chicken's so good though. Like
it really
fresh
is.
Fried chicken is so elite. It's as good as like a delicious steak. It's just so damn good. Man, I love good fried chicken. What else do we got? Actually, just about all caught up here on these QQs. Let's jump on over to the YouTube chat. Make sure you hit us with a thumbs up here. We'll go to Greg's question. DK single entry, Squirrel, Hayes or Duran?
I'd go Brian Hayes. I'd go with Brian Hayes.
Okay. How do either of you gentlemen feel about a Pittsburgh stack? Anybody on it?
I do. I like Pittsburgh. Like a Brian Hayes, like Jack Swinsky.
Very good. You got the double thumbs up there. All right. Let's see what else we got. DK single entry question. Cheese, I'm coming to you here. I'm stacking the Mets today Am I a donkey? I love questions like this. Am I a donkey for playing Gurriel and Thomas over Carroll and Lewis to save ownership?
You are not. It's not a donkey play.
All right. People have generally come to agreement that cheesy nuts is probably the answer for your finishing move. Just so you know, what cheese nuts looks like, I don't know. It's there's a low blow involved of some sort in the finishing maneuver.
Maybe we will figure it out and get you a live video from San Diego this weekend.
We can demonstrate. Are you going? Cheese, you're going to?
Yeah, gotta hang out with Squirrel.
Did I miss this whole thing? Is this? Yeah. Okay. I missed that entire conversation. That's awesome. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Okay. Cheese. Gilbert Reynolds or Glasnow Sawinski?
Gilbert Reynolds.
Okay. Michael says, Squirrel, you want Duran or McNeil?
I'll go with Duran.
All right. Still all caught up in the RG Discord, so we're keeping these YouTube questions coming here. FanDuel GPP, Squirrel, you want Luke and Baker, Otani, or Nimmo?
There's got to be
go with
something
anything
missing
with
from
Otani.
that question.
He must have missed. Okay, here we go. He corrected himself lower down. Luke and Baker and Otani or Nimmo Lindor?
I'd still go the Otani one, but that makes it closer.
Okay, yeah, it makes it a little closer. Yeah,
Yeah, if you can get a 2 for 1, always.
Yeah. If the 2 side includes Otani, that seems like the right choice there. Cheese says, "Hey, it's fine. I'm fine, guys. I'm doing fine." Mateo says, "Cheese, is Ruiz a good play against Michaelis?"
I don't have him outside of a full Oakland stack. I mean, it's fine. He can always steal like 9 bases, so like it's never a terrible play. But at his price, I only have him in full stacks personally.
Okay. Jerry Berg says, FanDuel cash in the util, Cheese, 3,300.
You said FanDuel 3,300 util?
Cash.
I'd probably Michael Harris if you don't already have him, or otherwise Goldschmidt.
Okay, great. Squirrel Tony 2 times says, what game are we sleeping on? So maybe give me a stack that's low owned that you like.
Yeah, probably. Actually, I'll give you a game stack that I think is low owned. Is going to be Mets Pirates. And you don't need to game stack them. Just I think two lower owned offenses that I think can do well.
Well said. All right. Eric Johnson says, what are your thoughts on Schmidt Cheese for DK? Thank you.
I have 0.
Okay.
That's
Squirrel, you got any Schmidt?
thought.
Squirrel, you got any Schmidt?
No, he's just way down on the list for me. I've got a bunch of guys, but not.
Okay. All right. Allie says, tournament play FanDuel Cheese in the util. Riley, Christian Walker, or Marte?
Walker.
Okay. Cheese, your favorite stack to win it all, FanDuel single entry?
Arizona.
Okay. L21 says, Squirrel, DK GPP high dollar. I'm fading Max. Who is the next favorite 2 pitchers, please, and thank you?
Let me take a look at the salaries. So I think the next one will be Tyler Glasnow, if you want Glasnow. And then right after that would probably be like Yu Darvish, and that gives you a good amount of salary then you can use. I don't mind the idea of going down to like Grayson Rodriguez, because that then gives you a totally different like lineup construction, and you can use a ton of salary.
Okay, great. Ryan says, Squirrel, who is the one team you're afraid you don't have enough of? That's got to be Arizona, because you're underweight
Yeah,
on
it's probably Arizona.
Yeah, that's an easy one there. Let's see. Robbie says, Cheese, are we going to dinner together in San Diego? Sure.
So Mrs. Cheese is coming with me, so it is not up to me. You have to ask her.
Yeah, all right. Let's see. Jumping back into the old RG Discord here. Cheese, are the Angels and Rockies going overlooked for stacks? Great question.
They are. I prefer the Rockies side of that. Like neither of them are in my top like 5. But yes, they are going overlooked.
Okay. Squirrel, what pitcher will you play in a FanDuel GPP?
Well, I'll play a lot of them. But I think the ones that I probably like more than other people, like Grayson Rodriguez, I probably like you, Darvish, more than other people. And then like Merrill Kelly as well. Little bit of Logan Gilbert.
Okay. J Sam's, this is kind of a game theory question, Cheese. Do you feel hitters' batted ball profiles are priced into guys on FanDuel and DK? That's the first part.
No, that FanDuel and DK don't even know what that means. So no, they are not.
Our wonderful sponsor FanDuel most certainly does, but they may choose not to.
But I mean, really, seriously, that is not at all
Yeah.
in their pricing algorithm.
Yeah. Okay. That was a very clear answer. I like it. And then second question, do you feel metrics such as fastball percent, GB percent for hitters are often overlooked in the community? Ground ball, fly ball percent, ground ball percent. I got it.
Yeah, that's what he means.
Yep. Yeah. Do you feel that those metrics are often overlooked in the community, Cheese?
All I can say is sometimes overlooked. And it depends how you play. Like if people who just use projections don't even know what they mean or need to know what they mean. People who hand build, I think most of them are aware of them. So I don't know if I would want to say often overlooked. I don't know individually enough. I would have to go talk to every person who plays and then take a survey. So I'm not really sure.
Okay, well, we can do one right here. Squirrel, is it something that you look at for individual guys? Do you look at fly ball, ground ball percentage, or do you just look at the projections and figure it out that way?
I don't. Yeah, I think it just goes into projections.
Yeah.
So I don't look at that specifically. To be honest, no.
As a general rule, anyone that's using projection, whether they make their own or if they're using ours or using the bats, like they're not also looking at that stuff. Like you're kind of doing one or the other.
Sure. Right. Okay. Let's see here. FanDuel GPP Cheese, Michaelis or Rodriguez? I'll let you answer.
I prefer Rodriguez. Michaelis is much safer and really has about the same realistic upside because of the innings. But give me the much lower owned guy who theoretically could get more strikeouts. Not theoretically. Right. I could get more strikeouts.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Squirrel, this is an important question here from Snowfighter. The chicken one was too easy. This is baked potato, fried potato, or mashed potato.
Well, actually, I like the baked potato. Like I'm one of the few people that orders that at like restaurants or like steakhouses, but I like load it up with sour cream and like cheese, like put some scallions on there, whatever you want, like bacon. It's great.
Pretty good when you load them up. Cheese.
Tough question because even fried potatoes can mean a lot of different things.
Right. Is that like a hash brown? What, you know?
The fried potatoes that I just love at some barbecue restaurants around here they're kind of like their version of French fries. It's like, like an oval that big that's that thick and just fried like a French fry would be.
Like a tater
that kind of fried. Kind of not really. No, stop. Not like a tater tot.
Okay. So fried potato is your answer.
If it's the correct version of fried potato, yes.
Okay. All right. I'm a mashed potato, like by a mile on mashed potatoes all day long. I freaking love mashed potatoes. Let's see. What do we got here? Good question, by the way, Snowfighter. I like it. FanDuel Cash Cheese, Michaelis, Marte Harris, or Schurz, Wasabi, and Contreras.
That was cash. I guess I'd go the Michaelis Marte Harris way in cash.
Okay. DK single entry Squirrel. Am I different enough with a 5-man Arizona stack with a Yankee skinny stack?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fine. I think that's how you want to play. You want to play like a lower owned stack if you're using one of the higher owned stacks. Like wouldn't hurt to maybe get a little bit different pitcher as well. Also, we have 5 more minutes until lock, just in case anyone thinks it's at 7:05.
So one thing
Kevin does.
Since it kind of relates to what Squirrel just said, I've mentioned several times people have asked, like, what's my favorite stack single entry FanDuel? On FanDuel, there's a big difference in ownership of a stack on FanDuel when you can play. You can only play 4 guys, and you can play a whole other stack along with it. Like, you can eat like a massively chalky stack and still be wildly different with half of your lineup. So I'm much less concerned about that ownership on FanDuel.
Okay. Great little analysis there. Squirrel, DK Cash, your favorite outfielder, 3,500 or less?
3,500 or less. Let's see. Outfield. It's gonna take me a second. If you wanna
Okay.
actually Jeff Sawinski.
Sawinski?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Let's see. Going to take a few of these from the YouTube here real quick. Any interest in Texas stacks for GPP? One of you mentioned it.
I did. Yeah, I do like Texas.
Yep. Very
Like
good.
really, they should absolutely be on your everyday, no matter what list with Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay. We got Jerry says, hey, will you guys be doing this show for NFL Sunday? And the amount of content that we have on RotoGrinders during football season is incredible. So I do believe there's a crunch time. I'm not sure. Are either of you on it? Yeah.
I've been on it,
but there's definitely will be one.
Yeah. There will be.
There's actually, I think we usually start at either 10 or 11 and going. I think it might be 11 and then go straight through to 1, maybe 10.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. So yes, the answer is yes. We will be doing this for NFL. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got narrative here from Mindful Guidance. Clark Schmidt Cheese is going to have 40 family members at the game tonight. You got to take a shot with a few lineups now, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was the narrative you were talking about because it's also Asian Pacific Heritage Night in St. Louis. So you said load up on some Edmund.
Oh, look, we got multiple narratives going on. Love it. Oh, I see.
Where's Tommy Edmond from?
Yeah, I have no idea. I
I know what he looks like, and it makes me wonder where he's from. And like you said that, like
No, it was in the chat. It said it in the chat already.
He's from Michigan.
He's from Michigan.
So Pacific Heritage for sure. But yeah.
Let's see. All right, what else do we got? We've got 2 minutes until lock. Let's see what else we got here. Cheese, do you feel the reason the Cards keep throwing out Wainwright is simply because they're trying to help him get the 200th win? I 100% believe this. Cheese, do you agree?
I have no idea. I really don't know. I think it's just as likely that it's simply that it's Adam Wainwright and he can do whatever he wants because he's Adam Wainwright. I don't know if it's the 200 wins or not.
Do you think do you think he wants to go out again? I feel like I mean, he's getting roughed up, right? Like getting crushed.
I mean, I don't know what his breaking point is because it should have been, it should have been at least a month ago. So like, I'm not sure that he has a breaking point. Like it might be, he might just like it. And like when he's done, he's done. He has to spend the rest of his life not playing Major League Baseball. Right. If he can get another start, why not get another start? That might just be it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's Squirrel.
I feel like Patrick Corbin was like this a little bit last year, where it got to be like, good God, somebody take this man off the mound. And he actually is like not been as bad this year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Right.
I am so much rooting for Wainwright. Like I would love nothing more than for him to turn it around. I think it's too late, but I mean, I would love to see it.
Yeah. All right. Is Sean Manaea okay? You guys talked about him a little bit, right? He might be.
That's the guy that we don't know if he's pitching. Like, if he pitches, he's definitely okay on DraftKings. Arguably even a great play, but he might not pitch at all. So I don't know how to answer that.
We have an excellent question. I'm going to get a couple more baseball questions, and then we have a great food question that follows it. Let's see what else. Do we have any baseball questions up? Here we go for tournaments from Irvin. Squirrel, do you prefer Andy Rodriguez, Lindor, and Thomas, or Contreras, Lopez, Gurriel?
Sorry, what was the second one? Contreras, Gurriel, and
Lopez.
Yeah, I'd go with the second one.
Okay. Cheese, I've got an Atlanta-Pittsburgh stack final spot, Ozuna or Reynolds in DK single entry.
Reynolds.
Rukin Verde says, DK, Cheese, I'm playing 2 lineups in large field tournaments. Is it silly to have both lineups use the same 2 pitchers?
It is not.
Okay. That's a good question. We have less than a minute to go, so we will bring up the most important question, which is, Cheese, what is your favorite stack? And then he says, I mean steak. What is your favorite steak? Everybody gets their choice. Cheese, you can go first.
New York strip for me.
New York strip is such a good flavor tenderness combo there in the strip. I do love a New York strip. Squirrel, your favorite steak?
I'll just go with the filet.
The filet is so tender, so good. I think I'm a ribeye guy.
They're all good.
They're all good. Man, my steak game is so on point too. But I think the answer is a ribeye for me. But man, I love them all. With that, we have made it to the lock. We gave out some tri-tip some of the cheaper cuts are really freaking good too, man. Hey, we have made it to the lock. We gave out some baseball plays. We gave out some food knowledge on you. Make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up on your way out. So for Cheese, for Squirrel, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.